cool Photoshop render or something. Well, what's up, guys? Hello, welcome. Welcome here to the special live stream, to our Friday live stream. We're gonna start a little bit earlier, because just like 5 minutes, because I want to talk about a very specific question that has to do with what we're gonna be working on today, which is how to pick a concept and how do I know if a concept is on the right or appropriate level for me, right? So let's go here to the stream tablet. So let's say we're looking for a character concept, right? So if we look for character concept art, and you are someone who's learning to make characters, you are learning about the production pipeline, you're learning about anatomy, you're learning about retopology. If you pick a concept, let's say I'm gonna pick this girl right here. I think she looks interesting. So let's say I pick this concept, and after doing it for a little while, I realize, hey, you know what? I made a mistake, and this is way more complicated than what I thought it would be. So if that happens to you, you pretty much have two options. You pause that project for a little while, you learn the skills that you feel are missing for this specific element, and then you go back to the project and finish it. So for instance, maybe you're like, hey, I've never done like dreadlocks, or I've never done this type of clothing right here. Well, let's take it back, right? Like that's the secret, I would say, to whenever you get stuck to one specific like part of a concept. If you get stuck, figure out what is it exactly that you're having issues with, and if it's cloth, for instance, okay, you pause that project, you move on to a similar project or a little exercise to teach you that specific element, and then after doing that, you go back to the project and do it again. But ideally, and this is something that you're going to develop more and more as you keep learning more about the 3D world, you should be able to tell pretty much instantly whether or not a character is going to be challenging for you. Like in my case, right? Like if I say, hey, I want to do, I don't know, this character right here, I already know that it's going to be challenging because of all of the hard surface things that she has right here on the backpack. But if I select something like this one right here, kind of looks like Levi from Attack on Titan, I know that I can easily do pretty much everything here. Like I've done similar characters before, so I know I'm not going to have a hard time. So it's usually when you face something that looks very, very complex and you're like, okay, I've never done something like that, and you need to think about whether or not you have the skills to do them or not. Do you have any tutorial for this? You mean for how to do what, man? how to pick a different project? I can give you another example, like a more clear example on how I would like jump from one thing to another. But I'm not sure if that's what you mean. Do you think a prop artist, this is by Michael Harutian, do you think a prop artist or an 3D environment artist should know 3D character art? No, not necessarily. It's always a good idea to know more skills because you can sort of like jump around. But it's not like, it's not mandatory. Is quad topology an absolute necessity by Bijit for animation? Or yeah, the model can also have triangles. If you check my retopology course, we talk about that extensively, and triangles are perfectly fine, but they are a double-edged sword, right? So if you don't know where to use triangles and you just like use them crazily all over your model, you're gonna have an issue. So let's talk about today's project, and actually this is again a good example to explain to go over one of the questions that Hussein just asked, which was how do I know if something is way too complex or way too simple, right? So this I found this page yesterday. We were looking at ideas for the stream, and originally I found this sword right here, which looks very, very cool. I'm not familiar with the Warhammer 40k universe, I'm gonna admit that, so you guys are gonna help me if I have any lore questions, but I found this sword and was like, oh, that's pretty cool, I really like it, I think it looks very, very nice, very, very fun. But at the same time, we've done swords before, I've done axes, I've done a lot of weapons of this type. So from a personal perspective, you should try to have a little bit more range and do more things that are gonna be available or that are gonna make your portfolio a little bit more interesting. We were debating about guns, right? Because guns are cool. Some people like guns, especially in games. They're very nice. In real life, well, they can be very dangerous. But in games, they're very, very cool. And we were looking at this one right here, the one on the bottom. Can you see that one? The little, like, pistol thingy. And even though it looks nice, it looks fun, I also thought it looked very simple. So I knew we could, of course, do it or do any of this ones right here, but it's going to be a little bit too simple. For some of you, if you're just starting, you might be like, hey, that's not so simple. Like, I might struggle with this one as well. Like, it's not as simple or as straightforward as I might think. And again, that's perfectly fine. But if you see that something is way too simple, then you can move up a little bit of a step, right? So it's important that we always try to find one. Now, I was very lucky to find these concepts right here. These were shared by this Bob Jim art. And this is from an old game that never happened. So as you can see right here, it was done for Warhammer 40k Dark Millennium Online, which was supposed to be an MMO, it appears, done by the now extinct THQ and another studio that seems to be extinct as well, called Vigil Games. So this is what we normally consider to be like, it's not abandonware, but it's like abandoned concept arts. So concept arts that were never used. I wouldn't risk it and use it as what's the word? As a commercial work, to be honest. Like that's it's in a gray area, but it's very risky. But for a student work or for your portfolio, this is usually a good option, right? So even this creature right here is very cool. So yeah, that's how I came up with this one right here. Now, is there any Warhammer fan over here? Because I'm pretty sure this one, like I was reading a little bit about like the different armies that you have on the game, and this is from, I think, the Imperium. Am I right? So you guys, you Warhammer fans, you tell me about that. Let's save this. We're of course gonna save this in our source images folder. Actually, one thing I want to do here, let me see if I can we need to flip this, and I'm gonna explain why in just a second. Let's call this AR Warhammer. Message retracted? What happened there? Did I type something? Yeah, Hudson, we've done that before. You can use the -AI and -Midjourney to remove some of that things from the searches. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go source images. Wait, is this? Oh no, that's from last year. Here, source images. And can I flip it? Edit. I hate the Windows image thingy. It's very... There we go. Save. Perfect. Cool. Let's reset the grid. So we can work on a smaller size. There we go. Okay, so I do have a question for the masses. How do you all check if you've actually been learning versus just following along? Oh, that's an excellent question, Empress Tiramisu. The way you do that is you pick a project that has no tutorial or no guide or nothing, and you try to do it without looking information up. You can, of course, look certain tools and things like that, but if you're doing a gun, even though the gun is not going to be available on a tutorial, and you look how to do other types of guns, feels a little bit like cheating, right? So yeah, you try to use what you've done before, and you do it without reference, pretty much going in blind. How do you manage to split time between streaming, family, personal projects, etc.? I find myself wanting to practice every day, but can't manage the time properly. That's the secret, EO. You can never do it. There's never enough time, and I think I can show you my calendar. Give me 1 second. Just want to make sure I'm not showing anything that I shouldn't be showing. But yeah, look at this. So my week, it's pretty much completely filled. Pretty much completely filled with a bunch of different things that I do. So yeah, there's never enough time. You gotta make sacrifices. That's I guess the best like secret I can tell you about time management. You gotta make sacrifices. I was listening to a guy on TikTok. It's a guy I follow. Maybe you guys have seen him, Alex Hormozy. I really like his style. I don't agree with all of the things he says, but he's got some valid points. And one thing that he says is that it's bullshit that we say that we don't have time. Like, that's not true. We always have time. You just need to make sure that you are using the time and you're sacrificing certain things that you're not going to be able to do in other times, right? Because people choose what to do with their time. Everyone, like every single one of us, we have the exact same amount of time every single day, like the exact same amount of minutes, the exact same amount of hours. How you use those hours and how you use that time, it's up to you. Did I have breakfast? Yes, I had a little bit of breakfast. I had my coffee. I had a little bit of rice and a little bit of chicken. No. That guy in particular, Tamach, I don't really like what he does. But there's a couple of valid points here and there that I think are quite valid. Like one very important thing, I guess, about like growing up and maturing is understanding that you might find very interesting points of view from the most unexpected person. And being wise, or one way to be wise, is to always listen to other opinions, right? Because they might not be exactly what you think. And then you pick which one is actually the one that you want to follow. So one of the reasons why we switched this weapon right here to face at the front is because when you are rigging a character, you always want the weapons to be facing the front on the Z-axis so that it's easy to attach to the whole thing. Now, I normally like to place the handle, so for in this case, the grip of the gun, I'm going to place it on the world origin, because again, that's usually where the palm is going to be, or where you're going to be snapping the object to, on the palm of a character. So for, again, like swords, shields, everything, I try to place the origin of the object where the origin of the world is, where the character is going to be holding it. It's a good way to make sure things are in a good place. So this is it. This is the weapon. We got a question here. How is the gaming industry in European countries? It's good, Aaron. Like, there's a bunch of really good studios there in Europe. So definitely a good option. Why do you do it in Maya, not in ZBrush? Yeah, it's definitely easier to do it here in Maya, because we're going to start with the simple blocking. Now, usually on the image, I like to bring the alpha gain down a little bit so that I can see a little bit through it. And we need to break this down, right? Like, if we think about this gun, or this prop right here, we need to break it down into its components. And the main components are, of course, the barrel right here. This is like the magazine down here. This is like the stock or something. And this is the body of the gun. And as you can see, it's very squarish. I also think that's one of the reasons why I like this one, because since it's very squarish, it should be relatively easy to make it, right? Because we don't have a lot of curvature or organic elements. So yeah, let's start like modeling things. A very good question, or a question I get often, is how do you start, right? Like what part of the guns would you start with? And to be honest, you can start with whatever piece you want. I personally am going to start with a very basic blocking of this dark, like black color here, or dark like zone here, just to have a very basic idea of the proportions of the gun, okay? So I know that this piece right here, again, this black piece, is going to be roughly this size. Again, I'm not going to focus on the details or anything. This is just the blocking stage. I'm going to push this down there. There we go. Let's have a line right there. Grab that face. There we go, right there. And we're gonna add another line right there. And extrude this top faces right here. So that's roughly, again, the sort of like size. We can even push it a little bit more. Since we already have the geometry here, we might be able to just grab that face again and push it up. And this part right here, I feel like a lot of people really underestimate how powerful the blocking stage is. Because if you have a good blocking, you can send this to an animator, and they're going to be able to start animating the character, which in production is such a time saver. Because we know that the proportions of this gun are not going to change anymore, right? Like, this is pretty much the size of the gun. Now, we have a little bit of a challenge here, and the challenge is that we don't know how thick the gun is. And here's where we need to use a little bit of our math knowledge, right? So, if we take a look at this barrel right here, that's a cylinder. I'm pretty confident that's a cylinder. There's absolutely no reason for that thing not to be completely cylindrical. So, I'm going to match it. I'm going to match the cylinder right there. And that thing just gave me the thickness that the gun should have. That's it. Like, I know that the gun cannot be thinner than that barrel right there, because it's gonna touch it, right? It's gonna affect it. And again, based on my experience with some weapons, I'm probably gonna guess that this is gonna be the thickness of the gun. Something like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hey, Pablotas, thank you. Yeah, damn, guys, we're over 100 viewers. Shish. Wow, that's pretty nice. Okay, so yeah, that's the first blocking right there. Now, let's do another blocking, and I'm going to show you, you guys are going to love this trick. Look at this. I'm going to go Mesh Tools, and I'm going to go Create Polygon, and I'm going to ignore all of the things that our teachers always tell us, which is to not use endguns, and I'm just going to block in the general shape of this, like, part right there. There we go. So I'm just going to push this in. And that right there, as you can see, it's the shape of where the trigger is, right? Then, what I can do here is I'm going to use my cut tool to cut any 2 points right there. Let's do another cut like right there. And pretty much what I want to do is I want to cut the trigger out, or the trigger housing. I'm not a gun guy, by the way, guys. Here in Mexico, you cannot legally own a gun. I don't think I would, to be honest, if I had the chance. Not a huge fan of them. I have a bow, though. I haven't used it in a while, but I do have a bow. That's very nerdy, right? Anyway, we're just gonna push this out. Yeah, there we go. That's it. So we're gonna push it out. Again, I would expect it to be roughly around this size, I would say. And then I'm gonna delete this faces, and we're just gonna mirror this on the X-negative world view. And here we can also guesstimate whether or not this is a little bit too thick or a little bit too thin. I think it's a little bit too thick, and there we go. So again, that's just a very basic blocking. And yes, this blocking breaks all of the rules that people are going to be using. And it's not because I don't care about topology. We're going to replace this. This is just for me to, again, send this whole thing to the animator. And the animator can already start seeing like, okay, this is roughly going to be the proportion of the gun. And he can already start pointing things out, moving them around, animating stuff. And later on, I'll just send him the final model. And he'll replace the final model with this one right here. Again, it's a little bit difficult for me to explain why that's so important. You get this once you start working in productions, but when we're modeling, especially if you're a modeler or a character artist, we're very used to doing things by stages. Modeling, low poly, high poly, that sort of stuff. And in production, it doesn't work that way because the animators, the lighting artists, the riggers, they will not be waiting for you to finish everything. They need to have some sort of idea of how things are going to be looking so that they can get a, again, so that they can start like working on the different pieces, right, on the different elements. So that's exactly what I'm doing right here. I'm just blocking in this whole elements so that I get an idea of where things are going to be. For instance, I think that's like the magazine or something. Again, any Warhammer fan, can you tell me, guys, what's the name of this type of weapon? Because I know when you're building your army, there's like, I don't know, like different types of like weapon types and elements. So if you guys can tell me exactly which type of weapon this is, that would be great. So this one's gonna be like roughly around there. And here, for instance, again, I have another sort of like interesting shape. I'm just gonna use the exact same trick I just used. So I'm gonna go Mesh Tools, Create Polygon. I'm gonna start with this piece right here. There we go. As you can see, that piece is pretty much at the same level as this other one right there. Maybe a little bit less, or maybe this thing is gonna be a little bit wider. Again, we're gonna this is why we play with this sort of like proportions here. Hey, Franny Bear says hello from Marmoset. Hello, hello. It's a heavy bolter. Thank you, Wolf Blaze. By the way, guys, talking about Marmoset, the new version just released, the Marmoset 5. It's now completely live. If you guys were checking the news yesterday, they just released Marmoset 5 full release. Is that right, Franny? I'm pretty sure that's it's the final release. There are gonna be, of course, like updates and patches and fixes, but I believe it's the update there. There we go. So that one's gonna be right there. I'm working on a personal project. I'll probably show it in a couple of weeks when I finish it. And I used Marmoset for the bakes this time, because I wanted to try some of the stuff there. I was blown away with the freaking interactive, like, baking. So strong, so fast, like, way faster than the competition, than Substance. Let's see, mesh tools, I'm gonna do, again, create polygon, there we go. So I just want to create these little things right here. There we go, it's just this little golden bit. Oh, let's go here, let's push it down, there we go. Awesome. Yeah, I really want to put it to the test. I haven't tried it, but I want to bring Tyros or one of my other characters into Marmoset 5 that has like multiple UDIMs and see if it can do like, I don't know, 20 UDIMs or something. I know my computer is the one that's probably going to crash. I definitely need to upgrade my computer. I think next year we're going to update. I'm waiting to see if NVIDIA is going to be releasing... there's been rumors about the new 590 or 580 like series. So there we go. Okay, let's duplicate this one. This one's some sort of like exhaust band or something. It's definitely going to be thinner. All right, so something like that. And then the eagle. So again, for the eagle, no need to worry right now. We're going to do everything. But I just want to have the general idea of where this thing is going to be. So, whoa. Wolf Girl with 10 freaking subs. And we, just like that, we just hit our goal. We had the sub goal of 10 or 50 subs, and Wolf Girl, thank you. You just, damn. Yeah, congratulations to everyone, and thank you very much, Wolf Girl. That's amazing. Thanks for the support. There you go. Thank you, Wolf Girl. Really appreciate it. That's definitely gonna help with the with the NVIDIA or the upgrade next year for the computer. Let's see. For what environment has more work? Something that's stylized or real? Oh, stylized, Emiliano, by far. Stylized stuff needs so much work. Because nowadays, with photogrammetry, with things like speed tree, with megascans, you can do a realistic environment relatively soon. But yeah, it's just way more complex to do something stylized. Okay, so cool. This right here, my friends, as I was just mentioning, is our it's our blocking. Like this, I can just literally, I'm gonna control G to group it. I'm gonna call this group blocking. Call this blocking a group. And thanks for the follow to Wavernaver, Rocket Sun, and Halfauk. There you go. That went through the artists. Everything is very nice, man. We're super happy because we just got 10 subs here from Wolf Girl. Thank you again. How hard is it to become an asset artist? I would say, Palpatinos, that asset artists are probably the most like widespread like level of artists, I would say. I always like to compare it to like doctors, right? Like when you go to a hospital, there's a bunch of doctors who finish med school and know pretty much everything or a little bit of everything about every specialty, right? But they're not specialists. So I would say asset artists, like pretty much anyone, like a character artist can do assets, an environment artist can do assets. Of course, an asset artist can do assets. So asset artists are one of those like disciplines or like generalities that pretty much everyone who does 3D fits into. And then once you're an asset artist, you start specializing. Do you do vehicles? Do you do guns? Do you do cloth and props and things like that? Do you do environment pieces? So that's how you start specializing, or you become a character artist or something else. No, I'm not using ZBrush for this one. Salam just says, my country blocked Discord. I'm disqualified from the contest. Oh, my friend, I'm so sorry to hear that. What country are you from? Because I didn't know. I didn't know there were like countries banned from Discord. I know, like Udemy has a couple, I think. Okay, so this is gonna be my blocking layer. And now that we had this blocking, again, as I was mentioning, guys, I can literally take this into Unreal right now. I'm not going to do it because it's going to take a long time. But I could take this into Unreal right now, and I could start doing programming. Like, if this is going to be for a game, I could start programming where the bullet's going to spawn. I can start programming the recoil it's going to have, like things like that. I can see how the animation is going to look. So this right here is, again, the gold for the production pipeline. And it took us, what, 20 minutes to do? So in 20 minutes, I have something that someone else on my team can start using to work on the next elements. I will probably tell the animators, hey, don't animate the character like touching buttons and things like that, because we're still not sure where all of those elements are going to be. But they can definitely start working on some like bigger assets, right? So, or bigger like shapes or forms. There we go. So let's now go to modeling. Let's start modeling some of these props. And the big question I get asked all the time, like every single one of my students tells me, hey teacher, what should I start doing? What do you guys think? What should we do here first? Should we do the barrel? Should we do this pipe? Should we do the bullet? Should we do the body of the gun? I wanna see what you guys think. What is my opinion on plasticity? I have not used plasticity B or Vi. I think it's like a CAD software, right? So it uses another type of pipeline. If you're gonna do it for games or for like 3D printing, I think it's fine. But for like subdivision modeling, I know sometimes the transition from one place to another can be a little bit difficult. Solid Mango says, I feel start with the easiest piece or the biggest. Yeah, base first, body first. Here's the thing, it doesn't matter. You can start with whatever it is you want to start, right? Like no one's gonna tell you, hey, that's wrong. So what I like to do, especially with images where I only have a single like element, is I like to find pieces that I know for a fact how much of a volume they have. What do I mean by this? For instance, we have this little thing right here, this cylinder. I'm not sure what that cylinder is. I'm really not sure. Could be like something to adjust the aim or something like that. But I know it's going to be like right around there. And that's it. Because I know that if I match the side view of this cylinder, everything else is going to match. And the great thing about this one is now this one helps me or will help me to know how thick this one right here and this one right here are going to be. So I like to follow or to find pieces that, again, I know how big or small they're going to be based on the shape that they have. Okay, so let's model this. Couple of pro tips here. If you're not going to see something, you don't need it, okay? So all of these faces down here, they're going to be pretty much embedded on the inside of the gun. You're not going to see them. If the character is going to rotate, that's a great question, right? Like, what's the character is going to rotate this little knob? What should we do right here? Well, in that particular case, I would give it a little bit of a lip. I would push this a little bit up. And that's it. Like, I leave that empty, because if I fill this with a face, what's going to happen is I'm going to be wasting polygons and I'm going to be wasting texture space, which right now in our current time, the time of this recording, is very, very important, okay? So let's go up here, and I'm also going to give it a little bit of a fraction there to bevel the edges. This is where we could use, by the way, the new Marmoset 5 tool, which is the bevel bakes, right? So the bevel bakes is another type of baker that's now, you can keep it low poly, and then when you bake, you get like a nice little bevel. But since this is not going to be for games, we're not going to use that tool. I'll probably showcase that tool soon. So let's go over here, here. I just need to download the latest update, and let's go right here. So I'm going to give it 2 segments and a small fraction. If you've seen my hard surface stuff, I always like to do that. And as you can see, that gives us a very nice sort of like clean effect. Now here's a little bit of a what's the word? Here's a little bit of a pro tip or option that you have as a modeler. If you are completely sure, the way I am right now, that this piece will not change, right? Like we're gonna keep this piece exactly as it is, you can UV right now. If you hate UVs, my advice is as soon as the piece is like completely modeled, do the UVs, okay? Do the UVs so that you don't have to do all of the UVs at the same time. I personally love doing UVs. Maybe I'm sick in the head or something, but yeah, this is how I like to do it. You should gather all the references you can. Oh no, he's answering someone else. I have a problem when I want to make complex models, can make them for similar. Some parts can imagine. Yeah, so Mr. Maher, one of the things that you need to understand is that if you're still building up the skills, you need to start with simple things. I remember a teacher of mine, his name is Max Dayan, and I think he gave an assignment to one of our peers in another group. He was not on my group, but he was in another group. This story was told to me, and the artist was struggling with modeling simple things. Or well, not simple things, complex things. And he told him, model a pencil. Like, model a perfect pencil. Show me that you can model a simple, perfect pencil, and then we can start moving on to the next thing. And once he was able to model like a very clean pencil with the eraser, the little metal cap on the top, all of the like shapes and bevels on the wood, like all of the little precision things that you need for a pencil, he understood more about the process. So if you're getting stuck with big or complex projects, pick something simpler. There's absolutely nothing wrong with picking something simpler. Okay, I'm gonna give you another example. This is from another type of like artwork that I do, but I like doing miniature painting, as you guys know. Miniature painting. Let's do Warhammer. There we go. I don't do Warhammer, but I'm just using it because we're going over it. So I know that if I, for instance, bought this model right here and tried to paint it at this skill level, I don't have the skill level to do it because I haven't practiced enough. But what I could do is I could look for maybe like a little goblin, right? And it's going to be way, way easier for me to learn the basics by painting, you know, a little goblin like this. I understand the principles. I understand how paint works and how to layer up this stuff. And then when I'm ready, when I feel like I know or I want to challenge myself, I jump to something like this. I guess one of the main issues in the art world and in every freaking discipline out there is that people will try to, like, we want to rush, right? Like, we want to do the cool, super flashy things when you haven't really even done the basics. Have you ever seen one of those videos where people are learning how to do like a back somersault or like a back flip or something like that? Or like even a front flip? They start by rolling and then by doing a full turn, and then they add some mats and they sort of like just do half of it. And they keep doing it, and it's like 2 or 3 day process, and at the end of it, they can do the full like front or back flip. But they do it precisely. If you just go out to the freaking patio and you try to do one backflip, you're gonna kill yourself. So you need to understand that, again, pretty much everything that we do has a process. Okay, so that's very, very important. Now let's add a cube right here. Let's add this piece. This is a very, very cool piece. I'm gonna be able to show you a cool way to handle hard surface things. So I'm not too worried about this piece right here because it's gonna be, again, embedded into this golden piece. Probably there might be some sort of like, I don't know if there's like a lens or something. We're gonna have to look for some more references. But what I do know is that this thing right here has a face that goes pretty much all the way until this side, right? So that's pretty much our shape right there. Again, the basic stuff. And thanks to this one that we just did recently, or a couple of minutes ago, we know how big or small this thing is gonna be. Now, there's one thing that I missed doing on this first one, and I do want to add the little sort of like sometimes it has like things to make it the scroll a little bit easier. So I'm gonna grab this faces right here, Control E. I'm gonna offset, but I'm gonna offset with keep faces together off. What that will do, as you can see, is it will generate a different face, or each face will be extruded pretty much individually. I'm gonna keep the offset very, very small, something like that. And then I'm gonna extrude again, and I'm gonna extrude out, and I'm gonna extrude again and extrude out, so that I add like an extra edge support right there. So now if I press number 3, we get this, which looks horrible. But if I go to my knife brush or insert edge loop tool, I can insert one right there, and when I do this, we get something that looks way, way more interesting, right? So this is pretty much how you can add this type of pattern to your objects. When modeling, it's always good to keep on a one-on-one size. Let's take a games press. Yeah, you should always try to model real size. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but ideally you want to keep things one-on-one. Because again, if you're working with multiple departments, the worst thing that you can do is be modeling this prop, for instance, and then send it to the animator, and he receives it, and it's like a freaking Nerf gun, right? Like super small. He's gonna have to guesstimate the size, and then if he makes one decision and you have another decision, things are not gonna match. So ideally, things should be modeled one-on-one. Yes, Aaron, portfolio is the first step, or one of the first steps to get an opportunity here at the industry. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab these 2 elements and I'm gonna bevel them. 2 segments and a little bit of a big fraction. It's pretty round, as you can see right there on the concept. And that, again, this makes sense based on the guns that I've seen before. So that's what I'm gonna do. The problem here is, or one of the issues that we have is, as you can see right here, we also have a little bit of a curvature. So I'm gonna grab this one right here, and I'm also gonna bevel. I'm gonna give it a couple of bevels right there. So this piece right here, even though it looks horrible, this could potentially work, okay? So, for instance, in a game, we just triangulate everything there and a couple of things right here, and that's fine. Like, that's our low poly version. But for subdivision surfaces, we do need to be a little bit cleaner. So I'm gonna clean up this surface, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So the first thing I want to clean is I want to clean this inner end-gun that we have right here. So I'm going to grab all of these faces from here, 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 and here. I'm going to Control E, and I'm going to offset a little bit to create a loop that goes around the whole thing. This face I'm going to delete because this line right here is going to eventually be matched right there. So as you can see now, we have clean surfaces on this side right here. Now it's very easy. We can delete this face, for instance. I'm going to grab 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to bridge them. Right, so it continues to the other side. And then over here, as you can see, it's fairly simple. Right now here, the silhouette is not changing as much. So I'm just going to grab, let's delete these faces for just a second. So I'm going to grab these edges right here. I'm just going to collapse them. Oh, sorry, merge them. Like that. There we go. Because I know when I press number 3, it's going to soften it up. And in here, I just need to add one line there on the center. And this is a quad. This is a quad. We fill the quad, and we fill the quad right here. Over on the back side, again, we just fill this thing as well, the 50 line right there, and we mirror from here to here. That's it. So now, even though we started with a very dirty bevel right here on the elements, it has now been cleaned into this object right here. Over on this side, this actually is not bad. I don't hate it, to be honest. But of course, this is an end-gun, this is an end-gun, and this is an end-gun. So ideally, we do want to fix it. So what's the easiest way to fix it? Well, to be honest, since we already have a very clean sort of like face distribution here on the top, right? Like this guy's right here. Hey, thanks for the follow, guys. We're going to delete those. I'm just going to grab this edge right here, Control E, push it down again, snap it to the same point, and Control E, get it in, right, to generate the loop, very similar to what we have on the top. And that's it. So this one and this one, that's a square, right? So we just bridge. This one and this one, that's a square, so we just bridge. This loop, actually, for now, I'm going to delete. We can bring it back later or in just a second. And here is where, for instance, someone was asking about triangles a couple of seconds ago. By the way, another reason why this middle section is so important, we can delete half of it. So what I can do here is I can grab this to vertex and just collapse to center, this to vertex and just collapse to center, and that's it. Finally, just go from this point back, and that's it. So that's a quad, that's a quad, that's a quad, triangle, quad, triangle, quad, quad. And if I smooth out, especially if I give this whole thing a bevel, right, to give it a nicer effect. Again, 2 segments in a small fraction, usually. Look at that. Super clean surface, right? And this part right here, I know looks very wrong, and I know people are going to be like, oh no, my teacher told me that we're not supposed to do that. Since it's a flat surface, right? All of this wall, it's a flat surface, and you're not going to deform this thing right here. It works, okay? Don't worry, it works perfectly fine. Like, no one's ever going to know that we have that like weird triangle topology right there. In texturing, we might have a little bit of an issue. We'll solve it once we get there. The issue that we could have in texturing is the fact that we could get a little bit of stretching on the textures. So let's go pro. Let me show you how I would fix this. So I'm going to push this in a little bit right there. I'm going to delete this edge loop right here. And what we pretty much need to do is we need to continue that edge loop over here. The downside of doing this process, of course, is that it's going to make things way heavier, right? Let's snap them together, and there we go. And we pretty much need to do the exact same thing going up. So we're going to start right here, up. We cross across those points and all the way to the other side. Again, if you want to be super perfect about this, we can snap them together. Careful with those extra vertices. There we go. And now that point is no longer needed. This is now more, I would say, professional topology. Again, the triangle one, perfectly fine. It works. But if you want to like really show off on your portfolio, this is the kind of topology that you want to have. So yeah, now that this is done, we can of course mirror this to the other side. We're going to have this. Again, we can press number 3 and you can see how everything subdivides very, very nicely. Again, from a pro perspective, I would still try to add, let's go right view here. I would probably try to add one line because you usually want a uniform distribution of polygons. Again, this is for texturing purposes. So I might add a couple of lines right there. I know this increases the poly count, but it also makes for a nicer effect. And finally, very important, this one right there. Remove that end-gun. Mirror this one last time. So we have same thing. Let's grab all of this. R. Snap them together. And there we go. That, my friends, is clean topology. Of course, we need to now finalize the bottom part and the top part. This one is fairly easy. We just bridge together. And well, again, this is where I would really question whether or not we need it, because this thing is going to be going towards the inside. So in this case, to save a little bit of polygons, I might just like, I don't know, like offset them or something. Is it okay? Is it not okay to break some rules, like with Silent Hill Pyramid? No, yeah, you can break rules. Triangles are not bad. I've mentioned this a million times. Triangles are not bad. Let's do mirror here, mirror here. There we go. Give me 1 second. Okay. And mirror here. This is where things get a little bit tricky, because as you can see, we got that like weird thing. Trying to think how best to fix it. That's why I normally wait until the very end to do the bevels. We can delete the bevels though. Let me see if I can do it. There we go. So as you can see, I just collapsed all of the bevels. And what that should allow me to do is it should make it a little bit easier to fix the topology first. Where's the merge? There's the merge. There we go. Ash Blocks, can you please make videos on character modeling? Ash, are you new to the channel, my friend? I've been doing like characters for the past, I don't know, man. It's been a lot. I do a lot of characters, my friend. Like a lot of characters. It's actually weird that I'm doing a gun right now, because I do a lot of characters. So yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now again we grab this corner. Perfect. Bevel the corner, 2 segments in a small fraction. There we go. Oh yeah, very important here. Whenever you're doing bevel, you need to hit all of the corners pretty much. Other way you just start getting like some weird facets here and there. There we go. Now as you can see, we did lose a little bit of the edginess right here. There we go. What the hell? There's not receiving enough video. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so now we mirror to the other side. Perfect. And finally, since we have a full sort of like line here on the bottom, we can very easily just offset a little bit to the inside, like that. Or instead of offset, let's try a scale, so that we don't get any weird corners. And that's it. Like I'm gonna stop it right there. I might give this another bevel. But that's it, because this thing is going to be on top of another object, of another element. So I don't need it to be... I don't need any like surface elements on the other side. Where's my... Where's my image plane? Just disappeared. Yeah, there you go. No, really, where's my image plane? Show... The hell? What the hell happened with my image plane? Oh, I turned it off. There we go. So yeah, that's a first part, and this is why making models and making things are so like complex, right? Because even though it's a relatively simple piece right here, look at how much time it took us, right? What was it, like, again, 10-15 minutes to get that shape. So it's tricky, guys. It's very, very tricky, but it's possible. Let's go for something a little bit more challenging. Let's go for this cylinder right here. So I want to show you how I would try to deal with this. So cylinders, especially cylinders that have holes in them, or sort of like geometry that are going to be like touching them, it's important. I can try to answer questions right now, Dolfo. So if you have a specific question, go for it. Unless it's not related to what we're doing right now, in which case, yes, we can leave a little bit of time at the end to do this. Can I show marmosets, turntable, animations on contest? No. We're not accepting anything else except for the 3 images and the story. Because if you add more stuff, it can bias us towards seeing other things. So it's important that we only follow the rules. Does the job of being a character artist include making weapons too? Yes, Essa. More often than not, you're also going to have to use or do a little bit of weapons. Casey, what's up, man? Welcome. Claudio, what's up? Let's see. You might already know a helpful tip. If you hold Alt and click and drag over the edges, it will select all the ones you drag over. Oh, nice. Yeah. I think I've used that one before. I also remember my teacher saying that usually there's like 8 different ways to do things inside of Maya, so here what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to have to go back here. I'm going to change the subdivisions axis to 8. All the way down to 8. There we go. Because it's a lot easier to work with low poly meshes at this stage. And I'm going to use booleans. Oh, booleans. But booleans are bad, Abe. My teacher always tells me, never use booleans. Booleans are fine. As long as you know how to use them, of course. So I'm going to show you here how we could use booleans here for the element. Again. Okay, let's duplicate that. Let's set this to 0. There we go. So what we want is we want to boolean this small cylinder across this big cylinder, right? And that's pretty much the element. So I'm going to graph 1, and I'm going to graph the other one. And I'm going to say mesh booleans A minus B. And this is what we get. So not bad. Now, of course, these inner faces we need to delete. And to make our lives easier, let's delete all of these faces as well. So we're left with only this piece right here. Let's delete history. We might also need to delete this cap faces. And this is what we have. So this is not bad, guys. Like this works. What I can do here is I can do Control E, do a little bit of an offset so that we get a poly loop, as you can see right there. And then the only thing I need to do is find a way to make these things flow in a nice direction along the surface of the cylinder. These ones right here are, of course, the easiest one. So we can go like that. And these ones right here are very easy to go down here as well. There we go. I'm, of course, going to snap them and make sure that they're super, super tight, super, super clean. There we go. Yeah, I don't like using mirror modifier, neither using mirror in Maya. I just prefer to mirror everything once I'm done. Because, yeah, I've had the same sort of like issue as you mentioned. Now here, we need to, again, think about how we're going to connect these points to the surface of the cylinder. Because right now, we do a number 3, and it looks relatively fine. Like, we're getting a nice sort of like result. The problem is that I know that when we add these points right here, they might start making the whole cylinder not as round anymore. So we got to be careful here. So again, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to throw it to the side like that. I'm going to go here, and throw it to the side like that. And this is why we're working with an 8-sided cylinder, because it's a lot easier to do when you have very low topology. There we go. And now, as you can see, we are left with something that's flowing a little bit better. But of course, this thing right here, we need a little bit more geometry. So this one is going to have to go to the front. And this one's going to have to go to the back. Those will change the curvature of their object. Okay. So we need to be mindful about that. Oh my god. Okay. So the problem here is that we need to add a little bit more curvature. So I'm going to graph this points right here. And I'm going to graph this points right here. Thank you. And we're just going to push them a little bit out to help with that sort of like curvature that we're looking for. We might need to push and pull a couple of points here and there a little bit more. There we go. So that they match, especially from the front view. Like the circumference of the cylinder should match nicely. Another thing we're going to do here, I'm going to push this one in a little bit more. Hey, thanks for the sub, my friend. No soy Lotus. Thank you, thank you. So we're gonna push this in. This is very important. We're gonna push this in, and then I'm gonna add a division here, so that again we're kind of like making sure that this thing is not going farther than it needs to. And this is the moment of truth. We're gonna mirror this, and we're gonna smooth it out. Yeah, that looks good. It has a couple of bumps here and there. Can you see those? But I want to see if once we add the thickness, if it's gonna have it again. So let's push them in a little bit. And of course, let's mesh display reverse normals. So it's not as obvious anymore, as you can see. So it definitely helps. It's there. So it's a little bit there. I'm gonna show you another thing we can do in just a second. Here's where I would probably turn on symmetry. So I'm gonna turn on Object X. Let's say, by the way, let's call this Warhammer. There we go. So now with symmetry turned on, I'm gonna go to number 3, and I'm just gonna see where the okay. So the bump is up here on this one, and the bump is probably because of this lines right here. I'm gonna have to push them back a little bit. Remember that the closer lines are together, the more tension they're gonna generate, so the more bumpiness they can generate. So in this case, we're gonna do something like this. Maybe Fix says, "Hi Ave, any team want to move from Maya to ZBrush after blockout, or maybe after doing whole model?" It depends. It depends on the kind of project that you're doing, Mimi. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult to answer, but I would say it depends. So since we added one, I think we might benefit from adding like a bevel here. Let's just make sure that we are trying to keep the circumference as clean as possible. I'm gonna push this up. Here's where we might be able to again push some of these points in or out. Hey, there we go. Daddy Streams with another sub, and we got one more hype train. I never understand what the hype train does. I just know it's a way for Twitch to tell me, hey, things are going fine. So thank you, thank you. That's first time to, would you move to ZBrush after? Yeah, I would do it after I do all of the elements, and once I have all of the elements, I'll bring it into ZBrush. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's looking good. So now, of course, we need to add a couple of bevels. So we're gonna add bevels there and there. Okay, bevels, 2 segments, small fraction. And there we go. I do feel like the hole is looking a little bit on the like oval shape. So I'm gonna push it in a little bit more so it looks more circular. Perfect. And I really wanna like make sure this line and this line are completely straight. Yeah, that's gonna help quite a bit, as you can see right there. Let's add another cut right here on the back. And yeah, that's one way in which you can use Booleans to create clean topology and create clean shapes. Now, I still see a couple of bumps here and there. They're quite tricky to get out. Here, I'm going to show you a trick. So one thing you can do is assign a new material and do a blend. And make sure the blend... I don't know why the new materials here on Maya are so bright. But the blend should be able to show you if you have like specific like bumps or things. As you can see, this doesn't look too bad. Right? Like we don't see like any like pinch or any like weird stretching on the specularity of the object. So I would say this is a good one. It's barely seen right there. And again, this is where you could, for instance, grab this vertex right here. And maybe just like barely push them in or down to try to minimize it. But I don't think it's gonna hurt us too much to have it like that. We have a section line though. This is important. Give me 1 second. Okay, here on the inside, I'm also gonna straighten the lines. Those might help. So as you can see, we do have a section line here. It's actually like we're pretty dead on, but we need to go into vertex mode. Push this one up, push this one there, and push this one there. So pretty much these 2 points should be on the same plane. There we go. And to do a section line is very easy. You just grab an edge loop. It's another very cool trick. So you just grab an edge loop, you bevel that edge loop, make the fraction very, very small, and then push that new loop that you just created. So when you bevel an edge, it bloop, splits it into two different elements, so into a little like edge loop. So now we can push this in, use a little bit of offset, of course, and there we go. We have the section line that we're seeing right there. That section line, it's a little bit more intense. See how it sort of like creates a very sharp like circle. So this is a little bit more advanced, but we can sharpen this up. And what we need to do is actually we need to bevel only these edges here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel them. As you can see, that gives me a little bit of a nicer effect right there. We can do 3 segments in a small segment or a small fraction. Yes, this is going to mess up the geometry quite a bit there. And then we can also like bevel this two right here. That one's going to be a small bevel. As you can see, we get that pinch. The problem here is that in order to really get that pinch, it's going to require a little bit more work. How could we avoid that? Like, what's the other alternative? Because right now, again, we're doing like a low poly version or a low poly model of the object. Is there another way to do it? As someone is mentioning here, yes, we could do this in ZBrush and just like start with really high polygons and use booleans and things like that. But then you're going to have to do retopology. If you don't like retopology, then, well, it's going to suck for you, right? Another option is to start with a really high count on the on the cylinder right here. So if we, and I can actually do it right here. If I just say mesh and smooth to make this a permanent smooth, see that? So now we have way more points. And what I can do, let's go one division down. What I can do is I could start like trying to move some of these points, like this one's right here, to get a sort of like straighter line, right? And by doing that, actually, let's do it symmetrically on both sides. 1, 2, 3. So it's this one and this one. We can straighten them up like that. And that's also going to give me a nicer effect. But you do need more resolution, right? So it all depends on how dense you want your objects to be. For cinematic stuff like this, perfectly normal. Like quite common to go this high on some of these elements. You guys are sending me messages on Discord right now. I'm of course not going to be able to answer. Yeah, again, it depends on the pipeline, my friend. So some people prefer to work with really high poly count, and some people prefer to work with smaller poly count. So yeah, let's do another piece that I'm quite confident about, based on, again, on the size, which is this pipe right here. Now that's a fun pipe because it has a lot of like cool detail, and this is where this is actually going to be a great example on how you can do what if you guys saw the short a couple of days ago, where we talk about from simple to complex, right? So I see this pipe, and what I see is I see a gray pipe, and then this like borders on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a torus. There we go. Let's rotate this 90 degrees. 90 degrees right here. I'm going to position it on the center here, and I'm going to use the properties to change the radius, the section radius, and things like that. So it's going to be roughly around there. That's the gray one, right? So I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to call this gray torus for now. I'm going to hide it. And now I want to find a number that allows me to remove faces and fits with the golden pieces right here. I am guessing it's going to be 24. Based on experience, no, it's actually closer to 23, it seems. But it needs to have the same amount of like elements. There we go, it's this one. It's 27. It's a very weird number, not very common. But now that we have that 27, I can erase that one right there. I can erase this one. I can erase this one. And I can erase all of these ones up here. Right? This one and this one are pretty much straight, so I'm gonna straighten them up and push them in. There we go. And now we can bring the gray torus back. We can, of course, well, let's get rid of symmetry. Delete the things that we don't need from the gray torus. There we go. And we're again gonna push this in. Flatten them up. So that's going to be the gray torus right there. And this one right here is going to be the golden torus that we have. I'm going to scale it in a little bit so it hugs the other. I'm actually going to, I could go Ah, that's fine. Let's start with this right now. We're gonna control E and we're gonna push it out. All right, I'm gonna give it a little bit of offset so it looks nicer. There you go. So that generates the shape and the amount of like elements that we have. Then I can see that it has lines, right, running through the whole thing. So we also need to do those. One thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to be deleting all of the inner faces because I don't want to have them just yet. That's a great question, Palpatines or Palpatinos. No, this model is not for games. I'm doing it a little bit more for, let's say, cinematics or commercial work. That's why the subdivisions are so high. And that's why we're doing this subdivision workflow, which means that we're going to be able to smooth this element. For games, it doesn't really matter how you do the high poly, as long as you can properly retopologize and create your low poly. How am I straightening the edge loops like that? Very simple, man. So when you grab an edge loop and you press R with scale, you just push on the axis that you want to like do. So for instance, let's say this one is skewed like this. If I select it, press R, and then use the green axis, I'm going to be able to flatten it to that specific point. X-Wave says, may I ask what's the advantage of using layers? I never used it for hard, just organization, pretty much. I'm just using them for organization purposes. So again, if I take a look at the concept, I can see that it's probably like 2 lines right here. So 1, 2, of course 1, 2, and then 2 lines right there, right there, right there. I'm a little bit worried that's not going to give me an exact line all the way around. So the center line, as you can see or about to see, oh no, it actually, we nailed it. There we go. Cool. So we're just going to select all of these lines right here. There we go. As you can see, every other line. Now, again, I'm lazy. I'm very lazy. So this thing is mirrored, right? From back to front. So I'm just going to do it on one side, and then I'm going to mirror it to the other one. And what I'm going to do here is, again, I'm just going to do a bevel. Small fraction. Oh, careful here. It seems like Did I grab an edge that I shouldn't have? Huh. So, bevel. It's weird. That guy, see that guy? This is doing something weird. Small fraction. And then again, we need to grab all of the... Actually, I'm extremely lazy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete all of the faces on one of the halves. And then I'm going to delete all of the faces on the other one of the halves. There we go. So that way I only need to do it on this one right here. Oh, I actually... I deleted the wrong one. That's fine. That way we can explore the mirror option very quickly. So grab all of these edges right here, right here, right here. There we go. So Control B to bevel, small fraction. And then I need to go to each of these new like canals that we created pretty much. Very weird that we're getting that one specifically there. It could be due to the scaling that we did before. There we go. Solid Mango says, "Hey Ave, I love the substance part of the axe course. It's really amazing." Yeah, that's a really we got a review last year, I think, from someone that that was complaining. He gave us like 1 star on the course or something. I was like, "Oh, if you would have told me that we were gonna be using substance on the course, then I wouldn't have bought it because I only want to use Blender." It's like, dude, we mentioned substance on the intro video. It's mentioned on the description of the video. I continuously remind everyone that we will be using substance. And hey. Yeah, it's like, bro. Now, unfortunately, those reviews can really hurt us. Because we had like a perfect like 5-star rating. And then that one tanked us all the way down to like 4.2 or something like that. Due to the average thing. So I was like, oh, dude, come on. At least send me a message before or something. There we go. So yeah, look at that. We got that very nice effect right there on the loops, which give us the effect that we're looking for. All of those inner lines we don't need. So now, instead of doing mirror on the world axis, because this one is going from a positive to negative, we need to go positive, hit apply. That's how we get it. And then instead of using world, I'm going to use object, which should use the center pivot, and I'm going to use C positive. And there we go. So as you can see, that brings it all the way back to where it's supposed to be. I'm just gonna throw in one final like bevel on this corner right here. There we go. So bevel, 2 segments, and that's it. It's going to give us a very strong effect on the elements. If you want those elements to be stronger, then of course on the bevel side of things, you might need to push them even more, right? But I think that gives us a nice result. Let's see. Is 3D modeling a great career? Well, I love it, man. I'm not sure what to tell you. I'm of course biased, but I really love it. In this level of detail like you're doing right now, let's see. In reality, if you're making this weapon for a customer in the gaming industry, how long should I take to complete the weapon? I would say about a week. I would say about a week is a good amount of time. Like, it would probably take you 2 days to do the high poly, 1 day for retopo and UVs, and 2 days for texturing and fixing anything that might have gone wrong. So yeah, I would say this gun is probably like a 1 week work. A Lancer from Gears of War, for instance, way more complex, right? That one would probably take you a month, I would say. It depends. And some studios are more lenient than others. Like, not every single studio will be on your on your ass, as they say, every single time and just like, finish this quickly, go, go, go. Like, no, that doesn't happen. Okay, here's where I'm going to use the technique that I mentioned about, because we need to have that very hard surfacey thing on the connectors. So I'm going to go very high. I'm going to go to like 48 like sides on the cylinder. So one's going to go right there. As you can see, there's a little bit of a taper, so this thing goes in a little bit. Not at the start though, so it goes like there. And then extrudes out and generates a little bit more of a hold on the pipes or something like that. And then you can see that there's like a something there. I'm not sure how to call it. There's like a depression, right? So I'm gonna delete all of those faces. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this vertex right here, and I'm gonna use soft selection to push them down like this until I hit the exact point. And it'll make it less intense. I'm gonna grab all of these guys right here. Actually, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it because it's looking very sort of like asymmetrical. Looks weird. It's not that bad. Okay, so it's like that. We can definitely again work with half of it to make our lives a little bit easier. Yeah, I'm not sure, maybe because this line feels weird. Probably like that then, to keep it a little bit sharper or stronger. There we go. Let's keep this sharp right there as well. Cool. Yeah, so let's see how this unfolds. It's not a bad shape. It's definitely a little bit intense, but it's not a bad shape. So in this case, we're again going to do a mirror, and now it's going to be C negative. Apply. So we get this shape right there. And then this thing holds this thing. So I'm just going to extrude in, as you can see right there. Yeah, that's an interesting shape, I think. So finally, we do need to bevel. So I'm going to grab those bevels or those edges right there. And when we smooth, we get this interesting effect. Of course, we're going to either need to delete the top face or add some support edges. In this case, again, since this thing is going to be attached to another piece of the element, it's probably easier to just have a smooth right there. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I do want these corners to be a little bit sharper. So what I can do is grab these corners right here. Not go all the way to the top. So just these elements. And we can bevel those. And as you can see, they're going to sort of like hold it a little bit nicer. Yes, we're going to have a little bit of an issue right here. We can try to triangulate. Sometimes that helps. It will generate a pinch. So that's an unfortunate situation. Yeah, no, I don't think I like that. This is again one of those like points where it might be better to just go into ZBrush and do it. But I kind of like the organic aspect of that thing right there. And as you can see, this thing right there, it's pretty much the same one as this one right here. So we'll just duplicate. That's it. We got the little section right there on the bottom of the gun. I'm a student studying modeling in Korea. Your video is very helpful to me. Thank you. You are welcome, my friend. You are very welcome. You can also use Blender texture painting instead of Substance. Yeah, I mean, you can paint in Blender. I'm not saying you can't. It's just that it's a little bit difficult, right? It's not as easy. Okay, let's do this main body of the gun. I think this is a challenging piece, and there's a bunch of other things that we can add on top. So starting up here, as you can see right around there, that's a cylinder, right? Like, we know that this thing is gonna rotate, or it's gonna create like a cylinder like shape. And 20 is fine, but it can get a little bit difficult to control, so I'm gonna get this down to 12. And this is a process. It's very similar, or not very similar, but we usually call this box modeling, right? Where we try to simplify things in a way that makes it easier for us to model elements. Because with this one, it should be fairly easy to just push this face forward all the way to this side. And that's pretty much it. What I'm noticing, of course, here is on the top view, this should be a little bit bigger than the original one. So I'm going to have to push this probably around there. That seems about right. And again, from the top view, that edge that we have there, of course, we're going to have to snap it to the grid. So that's the back part there on the gun. And once we have that, it's I would say relatively easy, because all of these things right here, all of the silhouette that we have right here is just a straight line. Here's where Quadro really comes into play. So I'm going to go here with Quadro, and I'm going to start adding, okay, just the basic blocking. I always start with basic blocking, and then I start polishing the topology, because we definitely want a specific flow. And I'm gonna give you, this is one of the big secrets about modeling, guys, so hold on just 1 second. Let's see, Lord Varian says, hola Abe, espero estés if you're gonna start ZBrush, I recommend the Oni course, the stylized character creation course, because on the anatomy course, I don't cover like the basics of ZBrush. I expect you to already know about how ZBrush works, so that we can move forward with the important things about character creation. So yeah. Yeah, the ones on Udemy, the ones that I did for Nextut, I'm no longer at Nextut, so they're good. I'm not gonna say they're not good, because I always put a lot of effort on the content that I create, but unfortunately I don't get any revenue from them anymore, and I also don't have access to the questions that you might ask there. So if you ask questions there and you get an answer, that's not me. So if you want to support this project and the channel, then the Oni course, either on Udemy or on our site. On our site is cheaper though. It's gonna be really good for you. Tech Aldiva says, "Would your special for?" Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I try to be a good teacher. When it's for films, you don't need a low poly and bake. Yeah, you usually don't need a low poly and bake. You're just gonna texture the high poly. Okay, so this is where the fun happens, guys. We need to start capturing all of the silhouette of these things right here, all of the curvature, all of the corners, all of the the smooth elements. And we need to decide where we use corners like this one, which is a close corner, right? That just like stops right there, and where we use corners that are round, like this one right here. So the way you decide that is, do you need a razor sharp corner? And the answer is yes. Like in this part right here, you do not continue the loop. It just stops right there. And if you don't need a razor sharp corner, then you need to add more loops. So for instance, up here, right, that corner right there, that specific point is, I would say, razor sharp, right? It's a lot stronger. So I'm going to add one point right there, one line right there. And that point is going to help me capture this curvature. So I know when I press number 3, get that curvature. But as you can see, since I'm not continuing the loop, when it stops, it gets that very nice effect. So that's what we're looking for. Over on this side, we do need a razor sharp corner, right? So we do take that into account. And that's it. That's how we generate this sort of like hard surface details. Now, we do have one interesting question, or one interesting thing right here, which is this section line right there. Technically, we can model that section line, But since it doesn't change the silhouette, and it will make it a lot harder to make sure everything fits, those are the kind of stuff that it's better to deal with in the texturing department. So it's very easy to just add height map information right there. It's very subtle. It doesn't change, again, the silhouette too much, and it's easier to do it that way. If I had to do it, I would do the same technique that I did on the front barrel right there, where I just create an edge loop that follows that line, and then I just bevel it. Now here I'm cleaning stuff up. You always want to have your polygons be as straight and as clean as possible. So all of this ones right here, cleaning them up, moving them around, as you can see here as well, so they're not super tense, right? So you always want to have a good distribution of your polygons, especially on hard surface things like this. It's very, very important that things are clean. Hello from the Philippines. We are not the same. Welcome, my friend. Yeah, that's one thing that I always tell you guys. I'm so humbled by the fact that we have people from all over the world. I never expected that. Let's see. Why Blender people make cute small assets environments with animation and all, but Maya people mostly do modeling only? I think because Blender makes it a lot easier to just do the full pipeline very quickly, and in Maya you do require a little bit more knowledge. I mean, we did that on the Maya course though. So here on the Maya course, we did this little like diorama. It's an introduction class to Maya, and we go same process from the blocking all the way to the modeling, all the way to the materials. So like those little dioramas, I think, are a great exercise to learn the 3D softwares. It's just yeah, it's a lot of fun, right? That one I think it's a very, very fun course. There we go. Okay, so we got this right here. Now what we need to do, and this is where one of the tricky parts happens, is we need to make the solid, right? So I know that this edge right here, for instance, is gonna go all the way to the center, right? To the grid. So it's gonna go right there. I also know that this ones right here are gonna go to the center, to the grid. And of course, this one's right here. Actually, all of this one's right here. They'll go to the center. We're gonna merge those vertices. So merge to center and merge to center. So that finishes it. But the problem, or not the problem, one of the challenges is this one right here. Because we can't just like, well, I mean, we could just push everything. But again, similar to what we did on this piece right here, it's a good practice to have like a good loop, good topology. So I know that we're going to have one loop right here. Okay. I'm going to grab this edges. Control E, R to scale them in. There we go. And now this one, I'm going to snap it to that point right there. Merge to center. And then this one is going to be snapped to the center of the grid. Just like that. Make sure all of them are, of course, completely flat. There we go. And here, we just need to add a couple of lines. So we're going to have one line right here. We bridge that. And then one line right here. We bridge that. And we bridge that. See that? That's cleaner topology, way, way cleaner topology. We got an extra loop right there that's going to be very, very helpful. And in general, it's just a good practice to do so. And we're going to do the exact same thing up here. So we grab all of these edges, snap them to the center. And then I am going to insert an edge loop right here. Grab all of these ones, Control E, R, scale them in. This vertex goes to the center. This one snaps right there. We merge to center. And we just insert an edge loop right there. So this one connects to that one. We make one more cut right here. And this one right there. There we go. That's it. That's a way, way cleaner, like, again, distribution of polygons. Now, I'm a little bit... Yeah, let's do it. So here, I'm just going to bridge that one. Bridge that one. We have 1, 2, 3. So we just add 1, 2, 3. And we bridge both of them. Perfect. So now we can do a mirror. In this case, it's going to be world x negative. Hit apply. That's it. Have this whole piece right here. Let's save real quick. Delete history. And now we need to just go through some polishing things. But thankfully, thanks to the fact that we modeled this in such a clean way, adding all of these new bevels that I'm about to add is going to be very easy. So I know I want to bevel that corner. I know I want to bevel all this corner right here. All this corner right here. Might as well bevel that one as well to avoid any issues. Might as well bevel that one. All of this one right here. That one. Well, that one, no. Not that one. This one right there. And this one right here. I do want to add that one right there. And I feel that's pretty much it. Everything else is supposed to be a little bit softer. So we bevel all of those. Again, 2 segments. Note how sharp and clean that silhouette looks, right? Oh. If this happens to you, this is very common. Easiest way to fix it is just grab all of those vertex and merge to center. And then just delete those points. Or just mirror again. But yeah. So that's the first part. And now we have this element right here, right? That we definitely want to like sharpen a little bit more. And this is where you add the support edges. So this is why we do it this way. Because it's very easy to just add a support edge on this corners. To help with that sort of like hard surfacey effect. Yes, this does increase the resolution. There's no way to go around that. So yeah. When the environment course is going to release? Soon. We're going to be releasing a new course next week. It's a small course, but I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's a fun one. I had a lot of fun making it. I'm on the final chapter now, working on the final stuff. So that one's going to come soon. And then as soon as that one releases, I'm going to start working again on the environment course. If you were a little bit out of the loop, I mentioned earlier this month that unfortunately the past version of the, what's the word? Of the environment course was having, well, it was just not flowing nicely. So I'm gonna redo it. Do you know what's going on at Unity? No, I know they bought Siba a couple of years ago, and then they discontinued it. I guess they don't want people to be using that technology anymore. Yeah, no, unfortunately, no. If you want to do some solvers, I know that Houdini has some like dynamic solvers out there, but I'm not sure, to be honest. Let's do this section right here. This is it's a fun and fast section, I think, because it has a lot of like little props, and it's gonna help make the gun look more complete. As you can see, guys, this is no easy work. Like I'm doing this, and I'm trying to talk and stream at the same time. And I'm moving, I would say, relatively fast. So a gun like this, it does take time, okay? One of the lessons that I want you guys to take from this stream is that I'm not saying it's not easy. I'm just saying it takes time, right? So we're going to bevel that. Well, that's perfect. Now we just need to push this forward. It's probably not as deep though. Right around there. When the new tutorial on Toolbag 5 baking coming? Hopefully soon as well. I was debating that internally yesterday. Because since Toolbag 5 just released, I was like, oh, I could just finish the little tutorial that I'm doing right now and then jump onto Marmoset 5. But I've promised the environment course. So I might be using a little bit of Marmoset on that environment course. I think that could be a little bit of an in-between option before I do a Marmoset 5 course. Okay, so those pieces right there are pretty much the exact same thing as this one, right? So I'm gonna rotate this 90 degrees. I'm gonna change the scale to object mode. There we go. And it's interesting because it's probably like half of the pipe. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna snap it right there so that it's half of the pipe. Or even less, to be honest. It does look like half a pipe. But then, that's interesting, right? Because if it's half a pipe, here's where lasso selection is actually quite good. If it's half a pipe, then that means that this one has to push out further. right? To be able to receive, let's say, that other half pipe. So this is where, again, you need to start using your like artistic mind and think about, okay, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And we can adjust proportions later, but in this case, I guess that makes sense. Let's do minus 90. There we go. So that one goes there. Sangre 13, thank you for the follow, my friend. What do you think is worth learning? Realistic environment? It depends on what you want to do, man. Like that's a very, very complicated question. Like sometimes I get questions that it's like, hey, it's your life, man. You gotta decide what you want for your own life. I personally did not go hyper realistic, but also didn't go stylized. So I have this sort of like weird style that's in between. But it really depends on what you want, man. So here I'm gonna use curves. I'm gonna draw a curve starting here, go out, and then try to go or make it go really straight right there. Gonna go control vertex and of course like straighten them up. There we go. Something like that. The curve usually is born on the center of the grid, so I'm gonna snap it right there. Yeah, and Maya has a very cool tool called the sweep mesh tool, which literally is used to create like pipes. So in this case, I can do that. I can add a little bit more precision, so it rounds it up a little bit nicer, and that's it. It's a little bit too much though. So here precision has an option called optimize that will remove edges that are not necessary. We can remove a couple because we're going to be smoothing, so yeah, something like that works. Right, and now let's do this little cool thing right here. This is a very nice, like, or a very fun model, I think. We're gonna start with a cube. So I'm gonna start with a cube right here. And since we already have the sort of like size, I'm gonna try to respect that. Let's see. Hey, will you attach everything in the end? I'm doing max, so I often attach. Yeah, everything can be combined at the very end as a simple element. Yeah, that was ultra high poly. Yeah, that's right. Is there any way to render a model with effects in Marmoset? I don't think so. I'm not sure if we had a Marmoset visitor a couple of minutes ago. Where are you? I always forget about the name. Sorry about that. Oh man, but no, I don't think you can render like BFX. But maybe soon. Maybe soon. For a beginner, if I'm doing 3D modeling like this as a studies, is it normal for me to take usually around 2 weeks or a week? Yes, as a beginner, it takes more time, of course. Like the more you use the tool, the more you practice, the faster you get. You can ask David. David has been working a lot on his like character sculpts, and I remember last year, it would take him like, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to do that kind of stuff. Nowadays, he can do one very, very fast. So I'm going to follow a similar process to what we did on the top part. I'm going to start by just adding this basic shapes right here. And then I'm going to clean up. So for instance here, I know that this one is a curve, right? That edge right there, that's a curve. So we're just going to bevel it. 2 segments is usually more than enough. We can increase the fraction a little bit. And there we go. And then over on this side, what do you guys see? Do you see like a sharp cut or do you see a curve? I think I see a sharp cut. Help me, guys. What do you see there? Because it's a very pixelated image. Is it like a sharp cut or is it like a round corner? What do you see? You see this curve, Lord Tellum? Round? Round? Okay, let's do round then. So we're gonna just same stuff. We're just gonna do fraction and usually 2 segments. We can do 3 segments here. So as you can see now, we have the shape that we're looking for, or the basic shape. So let's clean up one of the faces. So I'm gonna delete all of this. Let's clean this proportions right here, this faces, and then we can do it. And here I'm gonna show you a very cool trick. So I'm gonna delete all of this ones. Maybe not that one. Oh, it's not working. Anyway, I'm just gonna grab all of the faces then. What I'm just gonna do here is I'm just gonna do an offset. And then I'm gonna select everything else. Or actually, let me see. Yeah. So, because what I want here is this loop. See that? So now I've just created a very clean, like 3D loop here. And it's easier to fix the topology on this clean loop than it was on the other one. Mesh display, reverse. There we go. Let's go right view. And here you can fix with Quadro. So we just need to find the ones that make sense. All right, for instance, those right there. Uh-oh. Light is flickering. Let's save real quick. Hopefully we don't lose the stream. Let's add one more line here. There we go. Because we want to keep everything quads, right? Like we know that that's one of our usual rules. So that one, it's a quad as well. There we go. This faces, don't worry. Remember, these are flip normals. So you just go mesh and then reverse. That's it. When is it necessary to bevel a sharp edge for a game asset? I see you beveling the edges now, but I was wondering. No, for a game asset, you do it on the high poly, Renato. The low poly is usually like very, very angled or just with one simple bevel. This is, again, for a high poly workflow. Let's cut right there. This one. That's a planar there. And then we're going to do one here. There we go. So from here to here, we rich. And then this one right here, it's probably going to be easier to just bring the point up. Because we're going to use the point in just a second for the little, like extra little legs that it has. There we go. So as you can see, we got a couple of issues here on the vertex. We need to see if we can solve them. Sometimes it's not possible for whatever reason. Like what we can try here is we can do edit mesh and there's merge and increase the threshold a little bit and see if that solves it. If that doesn't solve it, sometimes just like redoing the stuff is best. So in this case, I'm just gonna delete that, grab this edge and just extrude this. There we go. See that? Which is actually the same thing I'm gonna do here because I want to have sharp corners. So all of this are gonna be like that. So yeah, there you go. So now we have this topology right here that's way cleaner and way closer to what we have on the concept. So on the concept, we also have those little, again, like legs up there. So I'm gonna have to add a couple of edge loops to find the proper place to add them. Let's try to straighten them up. And this one I'm just gonna rotate a little bit. There we go. So we're gonna grab that, Control E, and push it up. Okay, let's push this out. Hey. Interesting. There we go. History was locked or something. Now we have that. We position it a little bit inside the object, and we extrude out. How much? Well, until it hits or clears a little bit of that area right there. And that's it. We have this shape that, again, if we press number 3, we of course need to add some support edges. So I'm gonna add one support edge right there and one support edge in here. Okay, that helps. One right there, 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 one right there. There we go, much better. One right there. That's it. That's pretty much it. Now, I want to make this a little bit more interesting. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab these corners and just push them in a little bit. You know, to generate a little bit of a different effect. Another plane that's going to allow me to bounce some light or add some textures. I feel like that's going to work nicely. But that's it. That's the funny little piece that we have right there. Now we have a couple of pieces here. Another like buttons. Oh, this is... I could teach you how to do a circle within a plane surface. You guys want to learn that? It's a little bit tricky. It's not impossible. It's just a little bit tricky. Yeah, let's do it. So as you can see, we have a couple of buttons there. And very commonly with buttons, when you have the button, at the side of the button, there's going to be like a little inset like this, you know? So, where the button goes straight down or something. I don't know. But there's this thing. So instead of having like a flat surface and then just the bottom pushing out, you're usually going to have like a little bit of a housing. So let me show you how to do this. First of all, I need to have a center point, or I need to have a center vertex in that specific position, or as close as possible to the center. So this one right there should be around there. And I need to have another line right here. Again, as close as possible to the center. There we go. Then I'm going to grab those vertex, this one, and we're going to say edit mesh, and we're going to chamfer the edge, or the vertex, which is going to give us a square, right? Like a little square opening right there. One thing I need to do, of course, is let's go to the top view, and let's delete half of it, so we can work a little bit nicer on this area. So this one right there, I can say mesh and smooth. And I'm going to smooth with one subdivision level. Mesh and smooth. And I'm going to smooth with one subdivision level. As you can see, we get 8 sides. And 8 sides are usually what we want for a circle. I'm going to say mesh, or edit mesh, and circularize. And that's going to create a circle for me. Yes, this is destroying topology. It's destroying all of the very nice effects that we had before. But here's the secret to this technique. When you have a flat surface, it doesn't matter. Like, you can do a lot of things with a flat surface. So it doesn't really matter. What we want here is, again, just have like the very basics, or like a button section right there. Now, since we have these elements right here, we can actually bevel them. See that? And generate the actual like button section that we want. This one's, of course, I'm just going to delete the faces. There we go. This one's, I'm going to push it out a little bit more, because I feel like they were a little bit too big. They should be roughly as big as the button is going to be. So, right around there. And now, we push them in. Control E, offset. We lost the music. Give me 1 second. There we go. So, now that we have this, we flatten them. There we go. We flatten them. And to fill that hole, I mean, you can leave it open, but to fill that hole, just mesh, fill hole, grab both of them, edit mesh, and poke. That's it. Okay. We can do another bevel right here to make this stronger, because right now if I do smoothing, it's going to look very weird. So if we really want that to look nice, I mean, we can do a bevel, or we can just add an extra edge loop right there. Right? And now, of course, we need to fix a couple of the issues that we have here with the angles, right? We have some angles right here. So there's multiple ways to fix these elements. The easiest one is to just stitch or triangulate a couple of elements. So I'm going to go right view. I'm going to create one more line right there on the center. And that's going to give me 1 point right there that I can just snatch to that little element. So it's kind of like inserting topology within topology that was already grid-like. And that's pretty much the way you can do this kind of insets. There we go. That corner is going to be a little bit tricky. Hopefully it's not going to kill it. Here, to be honest, it might be easier to just add another line right there, so that I have one more like connection point, and we don't stress that little star too much, because it was going to be a little bit too intense. Actually, maybe it's the same for this one right here. So I'm going to insert another line right here. And there's ways to reduce this later on if we need to. But again, since it's a flat surface, it really doesn't matter too much. And that's it. Now we press number 3, and look at that. Chef's kiss. Amazing topology, right? No pinching, no nothing, and we just have the little element right there to really have our element. Yeah, circular is amazing, Franny. It's really, really freaking good. I love it. If anybody's wondering how to do this in Blender, you can bevel the vertex and use the circle tool with loop tools. Yes, yes. And that's the thing, like, that's why I like Blender. I'm not like a Maya fanatic or a Blender fanatic. I like both. And I like both of them because competition breeds innovation, right? So Maya has definitely dropped the ball in the past couple of years. They haven't really done anything like new or impressive. And Blender has done a lot of stuff. So, hey, for us as artists, if you know a little bit of both, then, hey, you're just going to have a better time. But look at that. Beautiful buttons, right? And we have that nice little casing there following the topology. So, yeah. And in general, like, one of the important things here is that we look at the topology and everything is quads, everything is triangles, and it just works. Cool. So that's the piece. Let's do the trigger now. Yeah, right. Because we're pretty much finished with the we're pretty much finished with this thing right here. I guess the only thing that we're missing is we just need to grab all of these elements right here. Right click, mirror, world -x, hit apply. That's it. So now we have all of the section here on the back part of the gun. We're definitely gonna have to have more streams because I don't think I'm gonna finish this gun on one stream, but you guys seem to be enjoying it, so I like this one. Are you gonna make this game ready? No, this is gonna be more for cinematics. So if you guys remember the sword that we did for Door, do you remember that? So Door here, this sword. So it's high poly. It's like heavily subdivided and it has a 4K map or something like that. So it's a little bit more on the higher end of elements. How do you model a knot? What kind of knot? You mean like a cloth knot with curves? So if you go to the curves, you can draw a knot like that. And then, like, if you want like a really realistic knot, right? And then you literally grab the control vertex and make it so that this thing follows the direction of the knot. Right, so you pretty much create the actual thread. So this one goes and then goes in like this. I think I'm doing this right. And then you can use the sweep mesh tool. Right? And depending on the scale and stuff like that. The cool thing about the sweep mesh tool is that the curve remains active. So at any point you can modify this to really like push the shape of the knot as clean as you want. So that's how I would model a knot. No, just go, to be honest, Defam, go with Elementor. Like, props to who deserves the props. I know how to model hard surface, but that's not really my specialty. So technically, I could do a course about like a hard surface modeling, but Elementor is really, really good at hard surface modeling. So if you have his courses, yeah, like that's a good option, man. Like, I'd rather spend my energy and my time doing courses on the things that I'm like really good at, rather than try to attack a market that's not where I am. It's like people have asked me, hey, am I gonna do a course about car modeling? No, never. Like, I don't think I'll ever do a course, even if they paid me a lot of money or someone paid me a lot of money to do it. I don't think I would do it because it's something that I don't enjoy, right? But yeah, so this is one way in which you could do a knot right there, my friend. Hope that helps. Let's say real quick. Is modeling the goal is to have fun? Yeah, I would agree. Can you please make a video or a small playlist about integration and rendering a character in Unreal Engine? There's a project that's been on the pipeline for a while now, which is the character workshop that I really want to do. It's just that we haven't had a chance to really nail down all of the things that we want to do with it. So, but that one's coming. Like, we're gonna be doing a character workshop. It's gonna be videos, like recorded sessions plus live sessions. And we're gonna go through the whole pipeline, because I don't want to do a tutorial where I do the full pipeline, because it's gonna be like 100-hour tutorial or like 80-hour tutorial, and people don't watch that. Like that's the reality. People will not watch something that's that long. So yeah, I'll probably just we'll do like a workshop and people can enroll to that. Maybe we'll have the sessions available later on for more people. I don't know. That's why we're still thinking about how to achieve that. But we do mention a little bit about Unreal, like very fast Unreal integration on the door, on the Substance course with the dwarf. So I show you how to render that guy on Unreal. Okay, let's push it up. There we go. There's a curve there. We're going to have to deal with that in just a second. And then there's a line here. So right around there. Because the golden part's going to cover. Actually, I'm going to go there so that we can see a more complete version of this gun. There we go. Now, this is interesting. And here again, we need to make decisions. This is where the cartridge, like, or the casing, right, of the bullet sort of like flies. So we need to decide whether or not we're going to model that hole. And it all comes back to whether or not we're at any point going to animate the gun firing and we seeing the thing like open and throwing the casing. If that thing is never going to open in animation or we're not going to see that side of the element, then like that doesn't work, right? Or we don't need to model it. So I don't think we need to model it. I'm going to keep it without modeling. We can add the hole later on. It's a flat surface again, so it's fairly easy to do. Let's see. What do you think you will make a video about getting first job in the industry? I've talked about that before, man. Unfortunately, it's such a weird thing to get a job in the industry. What I mean by this is I've have a bunch of experiences. I've had jobs where I ask for the collaboration, or I talk to the people at the place that I want to like provide the service for. It's like, hey, this is what I do. We should do something together. There's I've mentioned this before. I've had the fortune to never apply to a studio because that's not the kind of work that I look for. As a small studio myself, and with the people I work with, we usually go to the clients directly and we tell them, hey, this is what we do. We want to work with you, and we talk about it. The first job that I got when I came out of the school was because a teacher brought a lecturer in for a class, and he was mentioning, hey, we're an indie company, we're doing some games here, or we're doing a game, and we're looking for people in case you guys want to apply. And I applied. I reached out to them. It's like, hey, you went to the meeting, this is my portfolio. And I had a very good fit because they were doing a fantasy game, and you guys know I love fantasy, so on my portfolio I had some fantasy pieces, and that gave me the chance to to start working with them. So, but yeah, it's again, it's such a, there's so many variables on the job industry, or on the industry, so you can get a job from a bunch of different ways. I think where I get lost is the rules that I have to follow depending on where the project is going to end up, be it cinema, be the games, advertising. Yeah, and it can definitely be confusing, Lord Byron. Best way to do it is just doing it. The more you practice and the more you do it, the easier it becomes to understand, oh, this is what we do here, this is what we do there. But this is a great piece of advice that I can give you. Do not think that every single project that you do should fit on all of the pipelines. Not at all. Not at all. Like, I'm working on a personal project right now, and like the amount of polygons that I'm using is super low. I was like actually horrified by how low I needed to bring the poly count. I was like, I've never done, or I've never gone like this low for my characters. So yeah, you need to understand that it's every single industry or every single type of project will have a different type of requirements. Okay. So don't feel bad about not knowing, because it's also something that you will learn the more you do it. Okay, so we're gonna bring this guys down. So this is interesting. Easiest way to fix this right here is to add one more like extrude. Yeah, it's probably easier to just, I'm gonna bring this guys down, have this one right there, and then face mode, just extrude this guy's back up like that. There we go. Should we aim for big studios like the other got, even if we have really good portfolio? Is just again, it depends. I've seen some of my peers get a job at the big studios straight out of school, and I've seen others that took them a couple of years to get there. It's a very difficult, or it's a very different situation for everyone, I would say. Okay, so here's where I'm gonna use booleans again, guys, because as you can see, we have this sort of like round cuts right there on this part of the gun. Like right around there. Can you see that? So I'm gonna create a new boolean here. Rotate this 90 degrees. Lower this all the way down to 8. And scale it so that it fits the hole that we're going for. There we go. I'm gonna try to reutilize this line right here. It's gonna make it a lot easier for the cleanup stage. There we go. Grab this one, have it right here. There we go. Awesome. So we combine those two, and then we grab this one, mesh, booleans, A minus B. We delete history. So this is what I'm actually looking for. The edge loop. I don't care about the, what's the word? I don't care about the other thing here. And then once I have this edge loop, I'm gonna hit extrude, and I'm gonna extrude in a little bit, just a little bit. And now this is what I'm looking for. Look at that, super clean topology, following all of the loops that I need. Mesh display, reverse, and this is what I need. Like, this is the secret to this piece right here. If I can create this very clean border, everything is gonna be easier to do, because now I can just go to my quadro tool and I can just start filling all of this again. Right, like rebuilding pretty much like all of the points that I had. Most of them were squares, so I know I'm not gonna have too much of an issue. And over here, I can start finding out like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna have to add like another like division right there. Again, it's like solving a puzzle, right? It's like doing retopology while modeling. So here, easiest way to do it, just add one more point right there. And we can clean all of this up in just a second. Again, there are ways to optimize this even more. But since it's a flat surface, no problem at all. Like here, triangles could be a good way to optimize things. Okay, so all of that looks super dirty. Don't worry. We will clean it. I'm a very messy worker. Some people are very precise on how they approach the construction of their assets. I prefer to just like be I prefer to be a little bit faster on the creation process, and then I clean up. If you've seen my ZBrush stuff, that's also a similar way on how I work. So for instance here, again to simplify a little bit the amount of polygons, I'm just going to add an interesting loop right there. This is what you learn from topology, which we of course have a course about. There we go. So that's it. So as you can see, we have this very nice clean surface piece, and now it's moment to clean things up. So for instance, all of those we can straighten up, all of those we straighten up. And this is mainly for good texturing practices, right? Like making sure all of these things are as straight up as possible. It's a good way to make sure that your textures are going to look good in the future. Bolters in Warhammer shoot rocket rounds. They don't have shells. They are something like mini rockets, so you don't have to worry about the shell. Oh, that's great, Baliko. Thank you. Yeah. If you guys are Warhammer fans, let me know, because someone said that this was like a charger or something like that. So I'm not sure if it's... Yeah, it does seem to be shooting out like bigger pieces. I thought it was like a grenade launcher or something like that. So, but yeah, if we don't have to worry about the ejection piece, that's great. That's definitely gonna make it a little bit easier. So here's the trick, right? Like I know this corner pieces are good, but I know these ones are like not good. So I'm gonna snap those, and then with W and V, snap to point, we're gonna snap them together. So that way they're aligned to the ones that they sort of like represent. Same for this ones, right? Like I don't want to move that one right there. Actually, don't want to move any of this. we might have to do it. There's one thing that we can do. There's an option called slide edge. So it's right here on edit mesh and then, or sorry, mesh tools, slide edge. And it's with middle mouse, and that one slides it on the same sort of like normal of the element. So I think that one in this particular case is a little bit more helpful to get a nicer distribution. So again, it's mesh tools and then slide edge. There we go. Yeah, so I like it. I think we're in a good position here. So this piece, of course, is going to be the base, right? It's going to be the back part. So I'm going to snap it or have it really close to the ground right there. And then Control E, and we're going to extrude it out. How much? It depends, but I can see that it should at least clear the barrel a little bit. Right? So this is where things start worrying me a little bit on the precision of this concept pieces. Because as you can see, if we see from the inside, this is actually touching the barrel. So that tells my logic, it's like, hey, no, this should be like there, right? But then I take a look at this side right here, it's like, oh, I'm missing a lot of space. So either this is really, really deep on the outside right here, like really deep, or something's wrong with the barrel. And I don't think it should be that deep, to be honest. So I'm gonna leave it for this like now. We'll figure it out a little bit later. But yeah. In our keys, we're gonna go for 1 more hour. So yeah, we're gonna go all the way to, we're still missing like 1 hour and 10 minutes. Do you know of any companies that hire 3D artists by outsourcing and then direct them to clients? No, that's not common. So you have outsourced studios, and that's more common. Outsourced studios are studios that do work for big companies. Blizzard, for instance, has outsourced studios. I'm pretty sure Riot has all like outsourced studios as well, and they'll do things like I don't know. Like I think in Riot, for instance, they have a studio that does the splash arts for the characters, and they do most of like the programming in-house. So yeah, it's very common for there to be like again outsourced studios. Oh, you know what? I actually missed something here. And that might solve our issue. We missed this cut right here. Okay. This is a good opportunity to, again, showcase some cleaning techniques. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to push this line downwards, like that. And that piece right there is pretty much a cylinder, right? But then it pushes forward. So again, I'm going to go for a cylinder here. Let's rotate this 90 degrees. Lower this to 8 sides again. Have it right here. Grab the faces of the cylinder. This one's. And then this one's we extrude out. Perfect. So I know that we need to remove this piece from this piece. Booleans work best when everything is watertight. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to grab one, the other, mesh, Booleans, A minus B. There we go. So that generates the shape again. And this is I would say, fairly easy fix. So we do want to continue the very nice loop that we have going around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this edge right here. Actually, I'm trying to think. What's the easiest one? Well, first of all, easiest thing is, of course, to delete all of the unnecessary faces for now. We can always extrude them back. There we go. So here I think I'm just gonna do it manually. That's a sharp corner, so I'm just gonna continue there. And then we go over here. There we go. And we just merge those. There we go. And we find, again, similar to what we did with the, remember the holes on the upper part, on the front part of the gun. We just find the easiest way to stitch everything together. I'm a little bit worried about this point right here. Why am I worried about it? Because it's a point that has more than 6 sides, or 6 sides or more. Whenever you have, this is very important, whenever you have one point that has 6 connections, it usually means that you can simplify it somehow. And in this particular case, the best way to simplify this is actually by collapsing these edges right here. So if I collapse them right there, as you can see now, this point is only 5 points for the whole thing. Same for this one. And 5-point stars, they're not ideal, right? Like, they can be a little bit tricky to work with, but they're way, way better than a 6-point element. So yeah, that pretty much solves the issue, and we're back to our clean shape right there. Bulgar MX and a 9 Bebop. Thanks for the follow, guys. Fixing topology in Maya is really easy. I should switch from Blender to Maya. Yeah, Blender has some very cool tools. It's a little bit more destructive, I think. So I know there's this very famous plugin on Blender called Box Cutter, and it's really good for like Boolean operations and insets and things like that, but it usually results in dirty topology or very like damaged topology. Again, if it's an object that's not going to deform, if it's an object that's not going to animate and it's just like part of a gun or a turret or whatever, it's fine. But this is the kind of stuff that some studios will be looking for, which is what, again, we know as subdivision modeling. So let's follow our instinct here. I'm gonna ignore that this is gonna be very deep, or maybe what we could do is we don't make it as deep here, like that, and then we can grab some of the faces. Let's go top view here, so we can grab some of the faces here on the back. Top view, like that. Yeah, I think this is going to be a better option, or a better solution. I'm just going to grab or remove all of the faces there. And then all of the faces there. I know I could have done a selection, but I've already committed to this option. Maybe even this one, this one, this one. Yeah, because it does feel like this thing's... should give me enough connection. Let's go maybe all the way to, yeah, this quarter. Yeah, that's a good place to stop. Later on, again, if we need more depth, we'll add it, and then we extrude this in. Let's go top view. There we go, and we delete those. And then this, of course, we mirror to the other side. So that gives us the sort of like big casing here. And I'm not entirely sure if we should like bridge this to the other side. We might have to be honest. Like, it kind of makes sense. Again, maybe not all the way to the top, but like some of these faces. Again, we'll figure it out a little bit later. But this makes more sense here for the barrel of the gun. My smartass would add another edge loop to fix that. Well, yeah, there's multiple ways to do it. 100k polygons is okay for a triple character. Yes, again, it depends on the game, but yes. Like League of Legends characters, like that. This is the thing, guys. Remember that the definition AAA game, it's not about the quality of the assets. It's about the money, the amount of money that's invested into a game. League of Legends is a AAA game, even though the assets are very, very, very low poly, right? World of Warcraft is a AAA game, even though the assets are not as heavy as God of War. So AAA is the amount of money that gets inputted or invested into a game, not the quality of the assets. We tend to compare those to the quality of the assets because I would say a grand majority of the games that are very high quality in terms of graphics are AAA games, but that's not necessarily the definition of it, okay? Question, can learning topology help with... No, definitely, Kevin Bowens, that's a... Yeah, like this is very interesting, Kevin, and that's a great question. Every single thing you learn about the other parts of the pipeline, right? So for instance, if you're an animator and you learn about rigging, that will make you a better animator because you will understand how rigs work. If you're a rigger and you learn a little bit about animation, you will be a better rigger because you will understand what animators need. If you're a modeler and you learn about rigging, you will become a better modeler because you will learn about how proper topology works and how it deforms. So every single sort of like next discipline in line in the production pipeline, if you learn a little bit about it, you will be better at your discipline because you will have a better understanding of how things work. Okay, so yeah, that's a good piece. Let's do some of the like attachments or things that we have right here. So we have a button there that we're gonna have to add similar to the ones right here, but we already did it, so let's do this one instead. So this is like a pill, right? It's like a pill-shaped thingy. Again, fairly easy. I'm just gonna start with a cylinder. Rotate this again, 9 degrees. This one can definitely be 20-sided. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to delete this, duplicate this, rotate this 180, position it on the other side, combine both of them back, and then bridge this guy and this guy. Oh, this edges and this edges, we are going to bridge them. There we go. I'm going to grab this vertex, this vector. Control F11 is a shortcut to select all of the faces attached to a specific vertex. There we go. And I want to clean up the topology there, so I'm going to take this. There we go. So that's going to give me clean topology. Right? All quads, no poles. Poles are dangerous, and well, not dangerous, but they are tricky to work with, I would say. So you gotta be careful about poles, and it's usually fairly simple. There's a plugin I saw recently. I haven't bought it, to be honest, but there's a plugin I saw recently that helps with the cleanup of this pole sections. To me, what I like to do is I just like to grab some of the faces, bridge them. Of course, now this element right here, this object, it's mirrored, so I'm gonna save again myself a little bit of time there by deleting 1/2. And 2 points right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. So we've now closed the what's the word? We've successfully closed the poles. Yes, this increased the resolution. It's part of the it's part of the deal. But it gives us a cleaner surface to work with. Jonathan, thank you for being here, my friend. Thank you for your support, and yeah, I'll see you back in the next one, okay? What things do you like? I really like the character design. Character design is amazing. The combat is actually very fun, but I was talking to David the other day, and unfortunately, I don't enjoy playing games as much as I did. Not any game. Like, it has to be a very specific type of game, to be honest. And in God of War, even though I really like the design and everything, I don't have time. We were talking about this earlier, right? Like, I'm married, I have a little kid, there's things to do with the house, there's things to do with the project here, things to do on the schools that I'm teaching, the mentorship, so it gets difficult to just sit down and be like, I'm gonna play for 2 hours God of War, right? So it's part of growing up, I guess. Okay, so that's it. It does have a bevel. So actually here it's a good example because we already have all of these faces that we could just push forward to generate the bevel, right? Like that's the kind of bevel that we're looking for. So there we go. YC says, you teach better than my 3D teacher. See, if there's one thing I'm really proud about myself, I tend to be very self-criticizing. Like, I always think, like, oh, I could be so much better. I need to learn more. I need to keep improving. But there's one thing that I'm really proud of. And I know that I also need to improve, of course. Like, there's always room for improvement. But I'm really, really happy about my skills in that particular area is teaching. Like, I feel like I do have a very good talent or skill or something that I've developed for teaching. So I've really worked hard to get better at explaining things and showing processes and things like that. And I feel that that's one of my superpowers. Should all objects on a character or weapon be combined into one object? You can keep them separate. You can keep them separate. Back in the day, everything was combined, to be honest, but nowadays you can keep them separate. Just making, you know what? I'm missing a couple of. We're missing a couple of things on this one, like some sharp corners. There we go. Sometimes it's even funner, or it's more fun to be working on your 3D models than playing games. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you gotta find what you enjoy, and I remember listening to an old guy talking about like life and things like that, and he mentioned that he's like, you will realize that you won't enjoy doing the same things all throughout your life. So it's perfectly valid to say, hey, when I was a young kid, I loved doing games, or I loved playing games. Maybe now you don't love that as much. You love creating them more or something, right? And that's part of life. It's just part of life. So here I'm just adding support edges on all of the different parts that I feel we're missing to really get a nice sharp effect here on this area. Yeah, there we go. I've learned more from Abe than any class in school. Wow, that's a very good compliment. That means that I'm doing some right things. I always appreciate this. It's important to not fall into this fake sense of security. It's like, oh, everyone says I'm so good, that must mean that I'm like the best. No. I appreciate it, and I really try to put my best in the stuff that I show you guys and I teach you. So yeah. There's a weird shadow there. I'm not sure. It kind of looks like this thing is sort of like beveled in a little bit. It would make sense, to be honest, to push these things in a little bit. Then again, that's gonna give me a different type of plane. Hey, thanks for the follow, Drunk Toad. Thanks for the follow. Let's push this in. I don't love that pinch that we're getting, and that's due to the inclination and stuff. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how to fix it, because I do feel like that's a very big like space down there. Actually, let's fix it already. I don't like it. So the way to fix this is I need to delete a couple of lines first. Not too many, but some of the support lines that we added, like this ones, so that I can compress all of the vertex in an easier way. You can still see how we get like a weird pinch. Due to this corners right here. Actually, now that I think of it, it's gonna take a little bit longer to fix though. Okay, here's what we can do, and I've shown this technique before. You can grab all of the faces that should be on the same plane, hit R, and then change this to component, and it should make them so that they snap to the exact same component. So that should make them very flat. That should fix it. And then, of course, we add a support edge. Here, here, and here. There we go. That's looking better. Yeah, I like that. And then we can mirror this again. Yeah, so that gives another plane there as well, right? Like it makes things fall into a different perspective. It makes it so that the bottom part doesn't look too odd, and we still respect most of the shapes that we have right here. I like it. Did you hear they're remastering the Greek timeline of God of War? Really? That's interesting. That's really, really interesting. Well, Moaz, if you want to learn more, of course, you can check. Yeah, this modeling is real time. If you want to learn more, we got the premium courses as well. That's how you can. What's the word? How you can do that. But yeah, as Livagnis is saying, I don't expect you guys to learn everything from me, because I don't know everything. I know certain things about the 3D world and the 3D production pipeline, but there's so much more things to learn, and it's in your best interest to take as much information as you can. So, as someone was saying earlier, like, if you want to learn hard surface stuff, Elemenza, it's an excellent teacher as well. He has a very, very cool things there that I don't specialize in. So, it's in your best interest to look for that sort of stuff as well. The more information you can get, the more informed you're going to be about the process, and the better it's going to be for you. Schlock! What's up, my friend? Welcome here. Do you think depths are slipping in terms of optimization for games because of the more powerful hardware nowadays? It's not depths. It's unfortunately, I do think it's more about the higher-ups. Like, the studios are being very impatient in terms of production pipelines, and they want things to be very, very, very fast. And that's just difficult. That's just very, very difficult, right? So, because I'm sure most of the devs in the big AAA games could optimize things way, way more, but it's like, there's no time. We need to ship this. We need to make sure that this is ready for whatever game show or con we're going to be showing this at, and that's where things get tricky, right? That's I think one of the problems that we have with the industry in general, that we're getting a little bit too impatient with things. Can you tell me how I can improve my modeling skills fast? The first thing you need to realize is that this is not something that you're going to be learning fast. You can be optimal about it, or you can optimize your learning process by following tutorials, picking a good projects that are going to allow you to learn new tools or new skills. But this, my friend, is something that you definitely need to invest time in, so it's not going to be fast. Could you elaborate how are you going to evaluate submissions for the contest, like the amount of points for creativity, points for amount? We've covered that already, man. But yeah, I can show you real quick. Here, wait me 1 second. Where is it? So if you go to the Discord channel and you go to the event rules, which is where we have all of the rules right here, right? I mentioned that there's going to be 20 points on the final presentation render, 20 points on the clay render, 20 points on the technical execution, so how clean your stuff is and all that kind of stuff, 20 points on the story in the background, so as you can see it has quite a bit of information there, and 20 points on the design and creativity. So even if you're a beginner student or a beginner like 3D artist, you can get full points on your design and creativity. You can get full points on your story and background, because those are things that are not related to the 3D stuff, right? And then you might not get all of the points on the upper elements, but that still can get you like quite high on the list, right? So that's how we were gonna do it. Yeah, I agree, Casey. It's not that they suck. It's just that's the way the world works. Because without the money, then things wouldn't be made. Like, I don't think there's ever gonna be a team of artists that are just gonna do a God of War level game for free, right? On their free time as a hobby. Like that's not gonna happen, because the amount of money and time required for doing something like that, it's quite high. So if we want to be part of those, or if we want to enjoy those kind of like projects, we need to understand that there's some, let's say, compromises that we're going to need to follow, right? So yeah, it's I don't think they suck. It's just that we need to understand that again, there's like compromises. There we go. Can you do the Warhammer 40k prop 40k polys? Yeah, we could do that. Oh, thank you, Link. Yeah, no, I know that my teaching style is something that people like. Not everyone though. There are some people that I've gotten some really mean comments of like, oh, I hate how you teach, you suck, and this and that. Like, I don't hear to those. Of course, I just ignore them. But we do get those kind of comments every now and then. So I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. Like, I don't expect it. It's impossible to be liked by everyone, right? So you just do what you want to do. You just do what you think people are gonna like, and you go from there. No, they have a fair point, man. Like, It's again, it's impossible for Warhammer bolter fires rocket propelled projectiles, but they still eject. Okay, so Butt Naked Man here, amazing username, is confirming that they do eject the casing. So eventually, if we want to do it, we might need to open a little hole here for our ejector. My bevel is doing some weird stuff. Is it my bevel or am I like modeling something right? Most of the time it's user error, by the way. Like there's no such thing. Like the software is not gonna try to screw you over. It's always gonna be something that you're like again having an issue with. Okay, so this one's cool. I like this. This is a trick I use quite a bit, especially for small pieces like this. Just bevel everything. As long as it's a very low poly mesh, when you bevel, you're gonna get a very nice sort of like sharp detail. We're gonna add some materials in just a second as well, guys, to really like showcase how this thing is looking. But I want to add the little, cause I want to add the little sort of like walls that we have there. We also have another like button right there, it seems. See how we're reusing stuff? This is very, very common. Don't be afraid to reuse stuff. You already did it once, so why do it again? Let's delete all of these faces for now. Let's just push this out. Okay, so those doors, very fun. It's going to be very fun to do. We're going to start with a square. We're going to start up here. So you can see it's one of the sections. We're going to grab the lower face, and I'm going to push it all the way down first. And slide it to where it's going to end. And I'm just going to do another cut. My cut tool right here. And slide that one where it's going to be. Ideally, we do want these things to be centered. And I want to make sure they are as close as possible to the upper one right there. Let's push this forward. They're going to be sliding. They're going to be small doors, right? But they're going to be sliding right around there. And I do want to bevel these faces. I'm going to offset. Push out a little bit. Maybe even push this one in a little bit more. And then again, it's a small piece. Everything is hard surface. Everything is flat. So I'm just going to bevel everything. And that's the little like section door. See how nice it shines and how nice we get the bounce there on the elements. That's what we're going for. So we could be concerned about tries and the quads. Yes. Like tries are fine. I've mentioned this before. We go over this on the Topology course. You can use tries. Tries are not your enemies. They're a double-edged sword. That's why I always say. So if you don't know how to use them properly, you can get into some very, very messy situations, especially if you're doing like deformation things, like right for animation and stuff like that. But tries are used all the time, especially in like very low poly models, all the time. So no, tries are not bad. The reason why I think most teachers teach that the tries are, what's the word, like the devil or something, it's because again, when students are just learning, it's easier to just tell them, hey, don't use quads or tries. So here, as you can see, it's not matching perfectly, so we need to modify things a little bit. There we go. So now it should match. Perfect. Now this one right here, this final one is a little bit different, right? Because it's not gonna loop together. So I'm just gonna hide it like that and hide it there. There we go. There. There. And again, this one, it's gonna be, actually, this one's gonna be a little bit different because it stops right there. Yeah, trays are the kings in game masters. We use them all the time. Have I done traditional sculpting? Yes, I have. Do I have something that I could show you? I think I do. You guys want to see one of my traditional sculpts? What's it? Let's go full screen for just a second. Let's save, by the way. We haven't saved in a while. will you texture this weapon and use Photoshop? I'm gonna texture using Substance probably. I don't think I'm gonna use Photoshop for this particular weapon. It's gonna be Photoshop. So... Hey, is this not it? Oh, this is not it. No, this is not it. 1 second. Give me 1 second. I got a bunch of hard drives right here. Sometimes I forget which one. There we go. Which GPU am I using right now? I have an NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti. It's a 3080 Ti, but I'm definitely gonna have to upgrade soon because I'm starting to see a little bit more of the, you know, like the issues with performance and stuff. I'm on backup. There we go. Okay, so let me show you here. So when I went to Gnomon, I took 3 traditional sculpture classes. The first one we had to do a character, and I did this satire right here. So this was my first character back at Gnomon. I did this 2013, if I'm not mistaken. It was like 30 centimeters high or 45 centimeters high. It was a big one. So this one was my sculpture. Really liked it. It's supposed to still be there. Because it was picked and it was like showcased there on the campus, but now that they moved campus, I'm not sure if they destroyed it or if they got rid of it or if they're reusing it, but they did pick it. So yeah, this one was one of the ones that I did. And then I did Sculpture 3. Where is it? There's all of my classes here. Where is it? Creature modeling and skull. No, that's not it. Where is it? Is it in the Gnomon backup? No, Gnomon. Oh man, I don't know where it is. Sculpture 3, there we go. But that's not the picture that I have. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sure I have it here, but I just... There we go. So this was a creature statue that I did for the Sculpture 3 class. And this one was like big, like really, really freaking big. Like super heavy as well. I don't know, 40 kilograms or something. So that was another one of the sculptures that I did back when I was at Gnomon. So yeah, I've done a little bit of traditional sculpting. Did you start this from the beginning? Yeah, we started today. Actually, let's do something here. We're gonna just group everything. So we started with the blocking, which is the very basic sort of like idea of the main volumes of the gun, and now we're going with like details. We're just like sculpting all of the details. As much VRAM as you can get, my friend. Like right now, my brother is actually, he's not a 3D artist, but he wants to play the new Monster Hunter Wilds that's going to be coming out soon. And he's probably, I'm going to tell him to upgrade to a 3070 Ti, which I think has like 12 gigabytes of VRAM. So that one should be enough. If you can afford the 3090 or the 4090, sorry, 4070, I think I'm going to recommend him getting. If you can get one of those, then go for it. But I know they can get pricey as well. So yeah, as much VRAM as you can get would be my advice. Here we go. That beats a pull that says, "Hey, I'm learning 3D and audio videos. Help me. They're really good." You're a god. No, I'm not a god. But thank you, man. I appreciate that you like the videos. Thank you so much. Okay, let's do this little piece now. So we're gonna start again with the cube. We're almost done with this casing thing, which is quite fine. Let's go. Now this one has sharp edges on the corners. That makes it a little bit easier because I just need to add one line right there. And then extrude this down, roughly around that middle point right there. And that's it. That one goes there. It is a little bit higher than the rest of the elements, it seems. So it'll be like right around there. I'm gonna push this in. And then Control E, push them out and offset a little bit. Then grab these two faces, delete. Grab this edge, snap it. Make sure it's right there. And we're gonna do a mirror. And this is gonna be a mirror on bounding box. So it finds this bottom part on the object. Bounding box Z negative and, or sorry, not Z negative, Y negative. And hit apply. There we go. Now let's make sure that it matches our reference. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I like it. Looks good. And since it's again a low poly object, I'm just gonna bevel everything. Again, we can simplify a couple of loops here and there, but yeah, it's a fairly simple object. Let's make it a little bit thicker. There we go. And let's save. Let's see. The true clay renders. Yeah, those are the clay. Do you feel doing traditional sculpting inform your digital sculpts? Yes, the principles are the same. They did help. I'm not saying it's a must, but that was someone did this comment on one of my past shorts, and it said something like, "You don't have to be great at traditional art to be great at digital art." But every single great digital artist was also quite good at traditional art. So if you look at the top guys out there, Grassetti, for instance, Alessandro Valdeseroni, all of the guys that I normally talked about that I follow, if you look at their stuff, most of them are also quite proficient at traditional art because all of the principles from traditional art transfer very nicely to digital art. So yeah. Aditya says, love the way you teach. Hey, thank you very much, Aditya. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We still got 30 more minutes. Let's see how far we can push this. As you can see, it's I would say it's relatively simple. Like, this weapon it's a good practice. Like, if you guys want, you can look up for some of the other options that are there, because again, it's from an abandoned game, so you're also going to be safe there. It's a little bit of a weird shape, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like that shape. Well, we're just gonna follow the concept, I guess. But as you can see, it's a relatively simple concept. It's not super complex, and you can create some very nice, like, it's just a bunch of pieces that we need to do. Yeah, I'm a little bit like weirded out, to be honest, by the design choices here, because they don't flow as nicely with the rest of the design choices on the gun. But hey, I'm not a designer. I'm just a modeler. So yeah, it just looks weird, right? Like, do you guys agree that it looks a little bit weird? Or am I going crazy? This is where I might take a creative license and maybe just switching it around. I think just switching it around might actually like look a little bit nicer than what we have. So that to me looks a little bit better. Yeah, it looks a little bit funky, right? Do you remember what type of clay did you use on the traditional sculpt? Yes, of course. I remember it because it burned my hands so many times. That one was Chavant medium. So it's this one right here. Sulfur-free castable platinum. It's this one, actually. That's the exact block that I work with. So it's this sulfur-free plastiline. It doesn't it gets very hard, but then you use a heating lamp to soften it up, and once it gets hard, you can start working more on the details. So this one's really good, and it's, I would say, relatively cheap. So this one's $14, the block of clay, which is like 1 kilogram. There's one that I have not tried that I really want to try. That's called the Monster Clay. They now sell it here in Mexico, which is pretty cool. So I might get one soon. And this one it has a little bit more of a plastic base approach. So it's a little bit more elastic, and it says that it works, you know, a little bit better. Or you might be able to get a little bit more detail. Look at this. Freaking amazing. So yeah, traditional clay is really good, and you get like one chunk of clay. It's a little bit pricier. Like one of these boxes, I think it's like $50 or $40, but it's 4.5 pounds, which is what, 2 kilograms or something. So yeah, that one's good. It's a 3080 Ti, Aditya, 3080 Ti. It's a graphics card. So finally here we do need something like a little plate there, like a little metal plate. Again, I don't know if we should add like a little bit of a design or something, but for now, I'm just gonna keep it as a little door thingy right there. I've seen Monster Clay before too. I think the Shiflet brothers use it. Yeah, it's quite famous of a brand. It's quite nice. Okay, we're missing one button here on this side, as you can see, that one right there. But I'm not sure if it's a button or if it's just like a, kind of looks just like a, like something that's on top, right? I don't think it's something that you press. So what's the name of those? I always forget. But yeah, I'm just gonna have that right there. Okay, so that's not bad. Now, what I want to do here is I'm gonna start deleting some of the pieces that that we have already done for the object here, because I want to assign a couple of materials. What's that? To get a better idea of how this is gonna look. So let's delete some of the things that we already did here. Okay, so we can erase some of these faces, for instance. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So yeah, as you can see, guys, this is how we're doing so far. I think we're not bad, to be honest, if I may say so myself. So there's a lot of pieces here that are looking quite nice. Let's turn on ambient occlusion. And what I like to do is I like to assign materials to stuff as well. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back to my element. I'm gonna bring the alpha gain all the way up, and I'm just gonna grab everything, assign new material, Maya. Let's do a blend, and this is gonna be the gold. So let's call this M underscore gold, and we're gonna sample the color of the gold. You never sample the highlights. You always go to the midtones, right? So something like that, because the highlights you're gonna get from everything else. There we go. Then let's grab this big piece, for instance. Let's assign new material, another bleen, and this one's gonna be like bluish color. And then let's assign another new material, another bleen, and this one's gonna be the metal color. Let's go a little bit darker. There we go. Let's call this M metal. There we go. And then we can just start grabbing some of these pieces that are gonna be metallic, right? M metal. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This one goes away. So yeah, there we go. Not freaking bad. So again, we get an idea of how things are looking. It's not finished, of course. We're still missing a bunch of different pieces. But I don't think we're in a bad situation here. I think this is looking quite nice. What do you guys think? I mean, from the initial approach to this like first part, I think we're in a good position, right? I'm seeing some caps right there that we might need to add. So to do that, I'm just gonna duplicate this one, delete all of those elements, and extrude them a little bit. A little bit more. There we go. Probably a tad bit more. There we go. And we're gonna just bevel all the corners. There we go. Oh. Telling you, man, the bevel's behaving a little bit weirdly. Anyway. That one's also gonna be gold. Thank you for the follow, Valerie. Yeah, it's looking quite nice, I think. It's not bad. There's a very cool button here on the top of Maya that you can click. This one. That brings you back to the original shader. So if you don't want to be... Like, you can assign your colors, and then you can click on this to keep on working without getting too distracted. But yeah, this is not looking bad at all, I think. I think we're in a really, really good position. And now we just need to keep going. So we're I would say roughly, probably like 40% there. Because there's still a bunch of other things that we're missing. But we're roughly 40% there. I really like how this thing looks over here. Like this part. Very, very nice. I do think we can make the sweep mesh a little bit thicker. Like the weapons for these guys tend to be quite chunky, right? Bad textures will destroy a good... Yeah, bad textures will destroy a good model. And good textures can potentially save a bad model, but it's always a good idea to make sure that everything is working good. How important are good textures on a character in realism in footage? Oh, very, very important. Yeah, you can, I've seen that happen all the time, my friend. I've seen people do amazing models, and then they just, like, mess them up completely with textures. And actually, one of the advices I give on portfolio review is that if your model is really good and you don't feel confident about your texturing skills, don't texture it. Just don't do it. Because you might hurt your chances or your models more than you might help it. So it's a good idea to always present your work, of course, in the best possible way, and you gotta avoid showing stuff that's not ideal. Like I've had several students that show me their portfolio, not in portfolio review in the universities, and they show me some very bad textures. And my advice as a professional is just don't do texturing. Like for now, maybe just look for work or for jobs that are looking for sculptors or for modelers, but your textures are not there yet. So you need to work on that, right? So yeah, it's important. See, this one's gonna be fairly easy, this part right here, because it's just a little bit of a block there, right? That's a little bit of depth as well, right around there. Again, simple elements, just bevel everything. It's very important that you bevel with 2 segments at least, because if you don't bevel with 2 segments, you get angons on the corners. And this one's gonna be right there. This one's gonna be right there. Might be a little bit too big, so something like that. And again, if we go to the colors, that one's also gonna be gold. Hopefully you can imagine that once we do texturing on this thing, it's going to be way, way, way more interesting, right? So far, it looks sort of boring. Like I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't look boring, because everything is just super plain, right? Yeah, that's right, Risu. That's why on the Substance Painter course, we go over so many things, and I think the Substance Painter course is an excellent example, because even though the models are quite nice, the ones that we use, door, the sword, the shield, all that stuff, textures are what really makes it. Textures are what's really gonna make it look amazing. Yeah, I'm still working on the course, Solid Mango. It's gonna have to be next week. You guys know my philosophy. I don't want to rush. I prefer to wait a little bit more rather than show something that's not ready. So, yeah, there we go. So that's another easy piece right there. So you can see there's a lot of like very geometric pieces. So nothing too fancy, right? This one is a very fun piece. I kind of want to do it already, so let's do it. So I'm gonna go over here. I heard that all the other stages are preparations for them. No, all these stages are important. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I don't think I would say that one particular stage is preparation for any of the others. there. Let's go there. That thing is quite hidden over there, so I'm just gonna follow this section right here. There we go. Same down here. Let's add a couple of extra points to really cover the curvature here. Because now, what I'm gonna do, that's an interesting piece actually. So I'm not sure if it wraps around or not. Like, I know it starts right here, but again, I'm not sure what's happening inside, right? What do you guys think? Do you guys think this thing is just there for decoration and there's nothing in here, or do you think this piece connects to the other side? Yeah, Bidit, as I was mentioning, if you want to learn car modeling, I'm not that guy. Yes, you will be doing that on the, what's the word? You will be using curves if you want to do like car modeling, because curves are very powerful to do like very smooth and yeah, just smooth surfaces. But yeah. In this case, I should have. I think I should have done that, Kaito. I should have done the proper scale at the beginning. I didn't. Because I'm just doing it for myself, right? So I can scale it at any time. But in a studio setting or in a production setting, yes, it's ideal that you scale things to the proper like measurements from the very beginning. That way, again, as I was mentioning earlier, if you're gonna show this or send this to someone else, you're gonna have to, or it's gonna be a lot easier to. It's gonna be a lot easier to make sure that things match up. Okay, so if it goes all the way around, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scale, push this in, scale it in to generate like the curvature there. Push some of this vertices up, just like play a little bit with the curvature. And then here on the inside, push them in, right? To generate the nice bevel that we have right there. This one's right here, we're gonna snap them, and it would make sense to snap them all the way over here or over there. This one I'm gonna push them a little bit more so they sort of like hug the whole surface there. And then I'm gonna grab all of these faces, delete them, not that one, all of the other ones. I'm gonna grab this edge, scale it, and snap it to the grid, so that when we do a mirror, it mirrors properly. But before we do the mirror, I do wanna like sharpen this up. So let's do one support edge right there, one 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 right there. That's gonna give us the effect. We're missing just one right there. There we go. Now we can mirror this to the other side. Let's do world x negative. Oh, x negative. There we go. And I'm gonna do the same thing here on the front. I'm gonna push this vertex forward a little bit. There we go. And this is of course a gold piece. So as you can see, and this is what people might evaluate on your, what's the word, on your work, on your portfolio, the wireframe should look very clean. Yes, there might be certain areas that are very like low on wireframes, like this one right here. Ideally, you always want to like add a couple of extra edge loops. I remember having a very controversial short a couple of months ago where I talked about that difference in the wireframes, and that's why it's important to have context, right? Because again, this piece in production, no one would tell you, hey, it's wrong, you need more edge loops right there. Like, it's just a flat piece, it doesn't matter. But the particular example I was using back then definitely had some issues that needed to be solved, which is making sure that your topology looks relatively uniform across your object. That's again, it's important. Optimization is important, but also sort of like uniformity is important as well. The AK guy, what's up, my friend? Yeah, dude, we've been streaming for the past 2.5 hours now. Almost 3 hours, I think. So yeah, we're actually about to finish the stream. You arrived at the final part of the stream, but welcome. Welcome, my friend. In my opinion, I think it's a piece that would span the width of the gun. From my machine point of view, you would never design a piece to be made twice when you could cut it once. Yeah, I agree. So we just did that. Later on, we might add like another piece right here. Like this piece right here is also gonna sort of like hug everything together as well. It's bigger than that one, so that's gonna be a very chunky gun. But yeah, I mean, if it's a chunky gun, it's a chunky gun. There's not much we can do about it. We're just gonna follow the concept here. Yeah, I think one of the things that we're missing is that sort of like trim, like the golden trim that goes around the whole thing. That's definitely it's definitely gonna help. But let's finish today's stream with this like metal piece right here, because I think that's a good one as well. So we're gonna start with a cube, and this cube spans this whole section right there, right? Pretty much. And as you can see, the top elements are beveled. Right, we can see a bevel there, so I'm just gonna bevel and play with the fraction, which is right around there. That's about it. Don't worry about the hexagons. It's a flat area. Again, we can always erase them or clean them. There's a bunch of things we can do. And then we have this little holes in there, like exhaust ports or something. So this one, push it in a little bit. This one also push it in a little bit. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Do these holes go all the way through, or do they have like just like a cavity? What do you guys think? Yeah, it makes sense, Lord Talon. I understand. What do you think of using bevel weights modifier in Blender instead of adding them manually? That's a great question, Said. Again, it all depends on the pipeline. So, for instance, since most of the stuff that I do is for games, all of those modifiers that you have in Blender, all of those amazing modifiers that I like using, they're not readable on the engine, right? Like, you cannot export those modifiers to an engine. So you need to apply all of those changes, apply all of those elements. That's why I don't work that way. But if you're going to be doing, again, like a film or like a commercial inside of Blender, then yeah, having all of that stuff is really handy, because at any point you can change them. Dylan Swint! Oh my god, all the way from Japan. Japan is one of the countries that I really want to visit. Hopefully, I'll be able to go there soon. All the way through, I think. Possible halfway. Yeah, it's weird. Let's give it a shot. So, if they go all the way through, then we need to delete this guys right here. And we need to delete those guys right there. And that's how they would look, right? Now, of course, we do an extrusion here towards the inside. Mesh display and reverse. And again, since this is a very low poly element, you can just bevel everything with two segments. A little bit of a bigger fraction here. And that's going to give us the look, right? But I'm not sure. There might be another piece inside, you know, that sort of like opens and closes, like maybe little windows or something. Because it looks weird having them go all the way through. I like them though, but it looks a little bit weird. Let's do a mirror here. There we go. So I'm not sure. Maybe we'll just add like like little windows or something. We can recycle this piece right here. Of course, with a different material, right? But it could be that this, I don't know. I feel like they look a little bit better this way. Don't you guys think? Like as closed elements. Like if we add a new material here, make it a very dark element. That looks more visually pleasing, I would say, than what we had before. Do you have a link to this image? No, I don't, but I can share it to you guys in the Discord. I'll share it as in just a couple of minutes, okay? Hey, there you go, Arceus. The first stream you've watched from beginning to end in your entire life. Well, thank you for your support and thank you for being here. Hopefully, you've learned a couple of tricks here or there. It's the main that's the main goal, of course, of this whole thing, to share with you all of these cool things about the 3D world. Let's push this a little bit more. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I like this. I like this little window here. I think that looks, again, a little bit better. Nice. So yeah, it's getting there. It's definitely getting there, guys. It's definitely getting there. Still needs a couple more hours, I would say. Like, if I were to estimate how much more time, I would say it needs another 8 hours. Because most of the stuff here on the front, the eagle, this thing, that's easy. Very similar to what we've been doing so far. But then, like, this part right here, that's a little bit more organic. The bottom part of the trigger, that's definitely going to take a little bit longer. I think this is very, very cool. What is retopology, the AK guy? So retopology is the process that we do to prepare a model, to optimize a model so that we can use it, okay? Let me save this real quick and I'll show you. I think I have a scene here that I use. Actually, I can show you here. Here, give me 1 second. Assets. I'll use the Mind Flayer as an example. So last year we did a Mind Flayer. And this was the sculpt of the Mind Flayer, right? We did this on ZBrush, right here. And as you can see, this one has 500,000 polygons. Super, super dense. Can you see that? It looks very nice. It has a lot of detail and a lot of wrinkles and a lot of forms. It looks nice. I like it. I even 3D printed it. I don't think I have it here, but I have it 3D printed as well. And this was the Mind Flayer that we did because of Baldur's Gate and all that stuff. So if you need to use this in a game, or if you need to use this for animation, you need to optimize it. Or even if you want to texture it with UVs and all that stuff, you need to optimize it. So this right here is the optimized version. It's a very low poly version, as you can see. This only has 2,000 triangles, a little bit more than 2,000 triangles. It can be further optimized. Like, there's a couple of like elements, like this one right here, this one right here. We can definitely like simplify this a little bit more. And that's gonna save us a couple more triangles. This is what they do again for games like World of Warcraft or League of Legends. They'll go over it and they'll try to remove as many polygons as they can. Polygons that are not really affecting the silhouette too much. And yeah, so this is the optimized version of the element. And the cool thing about this one is that we can get UVs, right? Like this one right here. And once we do the UVs, we can texture it. We can totally texture it. So this is, let me show you. So this is the demo I did last year. This is on the channel, by the way. You can take a look at it. It's a little bit of a take on hand painted. This is not the full process of hand painting. It's way more complex than this, but it'll give you a good idea of how the techniques work. And the cool thing, this one's not using any sort of like shader. Everything is happening on the model itself, right? So I think I have it here. You guys want to see it real quick? So this right here, this display that you're seeing right now is flat, completely flat. There's no light, there's no shadow. It's all done with colors and textures. It's definitely a little bit too dark, I think, too contrasty, but I like the result. I think it's a nice result. The one thing that I definitely need to improve is the shading. So I think that little like extra glowiness that I added there to make it look a little bit wetter, I think it can definitely be improved. But yeah, this is all hand painted. So all of this is on this texture right here. And yes, this is 3D code. So 3D code is usually used for this kind of like 3D code is way better for hand painting than Substance Painter. You still use Substance Painter, and if you go back to that live stream, my friend, I use a little trick to generate a very basic map. Actually, I think I can show it to you here. Yeah, this one right here. Where is it? It's not showing. Well, we generate a very basic map in Substance Painter, and then we bring it here into 3D code to paint. But yeah, that's a different workflow, guys. So yeah, that's it, guys. I think with this we are gonna be finishing up for today. You guys, someone was waiting until the very end to ask questions. So if you guys have questions about the process that we just went through here on the modeling stages of this gun, or if you have questions that you want to ask, this is the moment to do it. So everything's gonna be modeled. Like the eagle head is very hard surfacey. Kaito, it's just planes. So I'm definitely gonna model. I'm gonna model in different parts to really get that nice little change in silhouette and in glows. But this is like all of that. That's why I picked this gun, because all of the things that you see in this gun can be modeled. Like, you don't really need to sculpt anything. The one thing that you might be like, hey, this might be easier to sculpt, is maybe the handle here. But again, it's fairly simple, like poly modeling techniques. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you, Saeed. And yeah, you guys remember, you guys are free to like join the Discord channel and the help channel on the Whips channel. You can show or share some of your stuff. You can of course ask questions. Sometimes I answer them depending if I have enough time. But there's a huge community that we have on the Discord channel that you're gonna be able to learn a lot from. Am I gonna 3D print it when I'm done? I'm not sure, Lord Tellum, but maybe, yeah. This could be a cool project to 3D print as well, I guess. I have no interest in organics, at least for now. I'm currently trying to perfect hard surface modeling. Do I have any future in 3D? Yeah, of course. The AK guy, of course. Oh, Kaito, you might want to go back to the stream. We're gonna update or upload this stream on Monday for the rerun, so you can see the whole thing. Because at the beginning of the stream, we did use Booleans to create this cylinder right here. So yeah, you probably want to go back and check that one. Okay. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for the sub gifts, Wolf Girl. Again, you you got the record right now here on the Twitch stream. So thank you everyone for being part of this. It's again thanks to you that we can get this project, or we can continue to work on this project. Both David and I are working every day to make sure you guys get the best possible content. And yeah, thank you very much. Am I gonna take this gun into ZBrush? Yes, probably. We're gonna bring it and add a couple of details. Or we might just do all of that inside of the texturing software, which in this case is gonna be Substance. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to all of my friends here. Dolfo Ferraz, don't worry, man. We'll be back with more next week, and there's gonna be a lot of surprises in the upcoming weeks. It's been sort of like a slow past couple of weeks, because we've been preparing a lot of things that are gonna be coming very, very soon. So yeah, thank you guys. Have a great weekend. Get some rest. Do some 3D. Practice. Get better. And don't forget, always learning, always improving. Bye-bye.